it to you and you'll just,
So before we start, I'm not sure if everybody.
wait a minute. Do you want me to get people in Zoom? Okay, so we're going to be starting. So if you can just keep it down and it'll. They'll give them a few minutes to sign in and I have to mute them all.
Access in the front is sufficient.
See?
Let you know that I think everyone's pretty much in. Walt. So if you want to wait, Walt's coming in. You're good. You want to say something or you want me to start?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for coming. Second of all, if you haven't yet signed in on the sign-in sheet in the back corner over there, please do so. So we'll have your names probably spelled and everything when we get to the notes. Having said that, off to you, Chuck, in your spiel.
Sure. Walter, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Chuck.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Chuck Teroni, Reading's Conservation Administrator. This meeting will be conducted in person and remote format consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, which further extend the certain COVID-19 provisions regarding remote participation in public meeting until March 31st, 2025. Please note that not all items listed may be in fact discussed and other items may not be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This agenda includes those matters which can be reasonably anticipated to be discussed at the meeting. Please note this meeting is being recorded. All materials are available on the Conservation Division page website, and I will provide a link in the chat once I'm finished with this script. Brian Bowe is the Conservation Chair, and he will facilitate this meeting. Please note there will be a public comment period at the end of each hearing. Each vote will be taken during this meeting will be conducted by roll call, and we will begin with a roll call attendance. Brian, can you please review tonight's agenda and take the roll call attendance?
Okay, sure. 7:02, call it to order. The roll call order will be starting with Walter.
Sir Talbot, Commissioner present.
Tony,
Tony Rotalakis, Commissioner present.
Chirag,
Chirag Staliker, member present.
Tim,
Michelle, member present.
Martha,
Martha Moore, Vice Chair, present.
Brian Bowe, Chair, present. Okay, now I'll review the agenda quickly. We're going to start off with opening the hearing on 0 Strout Ave. This is an NOI for the DPW. Then we're going to do 32 Harvard Street. This is continuing a hearing on an NOI, followed by 0 Vine Street, which is also continuing a hearing on an NOI. And on the next sticky page, 8 Morgan Park, which is opening a public hearing for an RDA. We then have usual old new business and some discussion items. Having said that, our first item is 0 Strout Ave. Is there anybody here?
It'd be Chris Cole, Michael Kessman, and I'll find Mike online, okay?
Good evening, Chris, Mike.
Mike's coming on, DPW Director. Chris Cole. Hey, Mike.
Hello there.
So we just started this. You're online. Can you introduce yourself? Chris Cole's here also, but can you introduce yourself for the record? And I'll bring up the plan.
Yes, my name is Michael Kessman. I'm the Assistant Director of the Reading DPW.
Sure, Mike. Let me see where the plan is.
Okay, as soon as Chuck gets the plan up, do you want to walk us through it?
Sure.
Okay, just give us a second. And it'd be good if you talked and not your son, but it's up to you.
Try to keep him quiet. My wife's out right now, so bear
Fair
with
enough.
me.
All right, Mike, we get the plan up. I'll try to point to what you're talking about. But plan's up there. I hope you can see it.
I can. All right, so this is the end of Strout Ave. Strout Ave is access to the town forest and the compost site. This is an existing paved area. You come in on the right, used to be the water treatment plant. So where Chuck's, if you come in to the site here on the left, there is a building that is an existing two-car garage that is not being used right now for anything more than storage. Up at the top of the site, the next building, it says existing garage. That is an old pump house related to the water treatment plant. So what the DPW is looking to do here in the area shown with the hash marks where Chuck's highlighting, we would like to site 2 storage containers down here for the purpose of storing extra rubbish and recycling carts after the townwide rollout in April of this year. The containers measure 8 by 40 feet each. And what we're proposing to do is dig out the existing grass area, install a gravel base, and then site the containers on top of the gravel. The area is within a 100-foot wetland buffer zone. This plan was prepared about 20 years ago, but it is fairly accurate. Chuck confirmed that the wetland line is primarily in the same location as shown. Also included in this NOI is running a new dedicated power source from the utility pole. There's a note that says proposed underground electric conduit. We want to give this building its own dedicated power source because right now the power comes from the other building. And then we want to run power out of the garage into the containers for the purpose of safety lights inside of the containers. And the last piece of this NOI is relocating a gate. If you go down to the bottom of the plan, there's a small note that says gate. That is an existing gate that is broken today. There's another gate. If you go down to the right with the paved roadway that leads into the forest, there's another gate down there. We want to propose to relocate that to here to secure the site. The site is going to be accessible only to DPW employees. And our intention here is to, again, to store extra trash carts. We're going to buy a pretty good supply of trash carts here. We want to set ourselves up so we don't need to go back and buy any more. And we just simply don't have the room at the DPW yard to store these things. So we've identified this site for storage for the trash carts, and that's really pretty much the summary of this NOI.
Sure, Mike, I just wanted to bring up something. You said the site is only going to be accessible for the DPW. Now, you mean vehicle only. Pedestrians can walk and all that walking with the dogs and whatnot can go around the gate, do what they've been doing. You know, they just can't bring cars down in this area anymore.
Correct. It's going to be a vehicle gate. We'll leave ample room for pedestrians to walk around the gate still within the paved roadway area. And people will be able to access the forest and everything with their dogs and for all the recreation that they can still do. Right, please.
Did you want to read that? Did you want to read?
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Yep.
I was remiss. I'm supposed to read the verb associated with this, so I'll do it now. Okay, so this is 0 Stroud Ave, DPW, Mike Kessman. The public hearing on notice of intent filed by Michael Kessman, Assistant DPW Director pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant is proposing site work to include removing topsoil, grading out crushed stone, approximately 840 square feet, trench electrical lines, and permanently placing on-site 2 8 by 40-foot storage containers. A new gate will be installed between the old water treatment parking lot and Stroud Ave to provide security and restrict vehicular access. All of the work is within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at the Town Hall Conservation Office, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Massachusetts, and on the Conservation Division page under the project by year. Assessors map 43, lot 33. Okay. Anything else you want to say, Mike, before we get to questions?
I believe that's everything on our end here. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
I had a question at the site visit, which was, were there any alternate places you could put those containers that would be further from the wetland?
This location is ideal, in our opinion, because one of the big things is getting power to these containers, and we're going to be coming out of the building overhead into the containers. If we sited the containers on, say, the other side of the paved area, they wouldn't be completely out of the buffer zone. There's just no way to get them totally out of the buffer zone, and then to get power to the containers, it would require more trenching on underground work. So this, in our opinion, is the ideal location for them. I'm sorry.
It's not a problem.
Could be worse, you might have said.
No, there's many, it's more common than they think.
Is there anything else?
Well, a lot of times when somebody proposes a project inside the buffer zone, we talk about possible mitigation. And often people are planting native vegetation in the zone of natural vegetation. Is there any sort of mitigation that you might be able to provide for this project?
I think we could come to an agreement on some type of reasonable mitigation in the form of plantings, if not in this area, maybe somewhere else. I think that's reasonable. I'd also look to Chris Calder to see if he feels the same way.
He's nodding yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Anything else?
That's all my questions.
Walter, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. We had a brief discussion on Monday about the risk associated with people bringing in dirty cans, or you folks bringing in dirty cans, rinsing them, cleaning them, and have the residual water wash into the wetlands. Has that been addressed?
I don't see that type of activity happening down here. The intent is not to wash and say clean cans. The intent would be to retrieve cans if somebody needs a new one, or if it needs a new lid put on it or something like that. You guys did bring that up at the site meeting.
Yeah, how are you going to ensure the cans that you bring there are either clean, or there's something there that you haven't thought about that you could either, like a trash container or a washout station or something like that? Is there something like that inside the buildings?
There is not. I'm not sure if there's running water in this location at all, in this building. I can say if we retrieved anything that needed to be cleaned before bringing it here for any reason, we could do that at the DPW yard, I suppose.
Sure. And Walter, I think you can address that with a condition. Because they're not expecting it, so you might make a condition that prevents clean out or coming back to the commission if such a process is needed.
Anything else, Walter?
To do it, thank you.
Okay. Tony?
I have a question. What are the short and long-term maintenance requirements of this facility?
Of the facility itself, short term, the building has a couple of broken windows that we need to replace. Otherwise, it's in fairly good condition. 2 new garage doors were installed either last year or the year before. They're in like new condition. I'd say within 10 to 20 years, it might need new asphalt shingles on the roof. But otherwise, the building itself is in pretty good condition.
Actually, I should have been a little more clear. I was referring specifically to the new structures, to the containers.
Oh, the containers, I don't expect any maintenance for those in the long or short term. We're purchasing, they're called one-trip containers. They come over one trip overseas, and it's the most new container you can buy. The paint will be all intact. They'll be weather tight and everything. I don't see any maintenance necessary for these things over, say, 10 to 20 years.
Do you know if that's a lead-based or a cadmium-based paint?
I do not know what type of paint the containers are painted with.
Thank you.
Anything else? Doug? Tim? So I have a couple of questions and actually more points. In the conditions, we will be asking for a limit on the activities. So if any other activities are received in the future to be added here, we would want you to come back to the commission to discuss those activities, whatever they may be. Also, I believe when we talked to you at the site visit on Monday, you were saying that there was going to be no changes to the building. Is that correct? Mike?
I'm sorry, can you ask that question again?
Sure. So no changes to the building are expected, right?
No changes to the building. It will remain a garage.
And if that changes, you'd have to come back to the commission for that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, no changes to the parking area.
I'm sorry, say that again.
No expected changes to the parking area.
No expected changes to the parking area.
It's not going to be resurfaced or sealed or anything. I'll assume that's a yes. And limit on the frequency of visits. I know you don't know exactly how much, but you talked about once a month, maybe twice a month. So if that frequency were to change, we'd want you to come back to commission to have that discussion as well. Obviously, we're concerned with traffic on that road. And so if you're seeing you're gonna need more than that, you gotta come back to the commission.
Hey, so I
I do just want to put it out there that, right when we do the cart rollout, there might be a brief period of more use of the building. And then we expect it to taper off after that, once the rollout's kind of settled. and things.
Understood. That makes sense. That's fine.
But yeah, absolutely long term, if we see any kind of activity more
That's
than
what
once or twice a month, we can come back to you.
Okay.
parking, staging.
And let's see, another question I had was, so you're gonna be putting this gate in, are you gonna be, I assume you're taking out the old posts that are there already?
Yeah, the plan is to completely remove and relocate the post and the gate from its existing location.
Okay, so you're gonna need to do that, preventing any erosion of the soil as you dig it up, and not storing the pieces in the wetlands before they get moved off to wherever they're gonna be for the final resting point.
Yep, the plan is to use a chain, pull those right out of the ground, immediately fill the holes in with gravel. And we plan to use the vacuum excavation truck to excavate the new footing holes in the new location. That'll be a very clean and neat operation. There will be no material. I don't even see any material touching the ground, honestly.
I didn't expect there to be, but I just wanted to get it on the record.
Yep.
Let's see. That's all my questions. Chuck, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, so just for the record, Mike, there'll be no overnight parking or staging any other material other than these containers, and that will be inside. So everything left on site will be either in the garage, those two buildings, or the containers.
Correct. No oversight parking. Everything will be contained to the containers or the garage. No staging of any materials of any kind other than that.
You know, outside of the initial startup date, when you're expecting a flurry of activity, do you expect the work to happen on the paved parking area, kind of in front of the buildings and in front of this area?
Yeah, because the containers and the garage will both empty out directly onto the paved surface. There's no reason for anybody to be doing anything but stepping from the paved surface into the garage or into the containers.
So there'll be no work on the pavement.
Would say that again?
So my question was, will you pull the containers, the trash containers, out of the garage or the metal container and work on them out in the open on the pavement?
No, there's room in the garage to do anything necessary.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Okay, so having said that, any last questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the public, either here or online? If you have a question online, go to the reactions button on the lower right of your screen and press raise hand. Can you come to the podium and introduce yourself, please, for the record?
Kyle Torno of 43 Vine Street. Just curious if this is a temporary, because it's just for the use of the garbage cans. And if it's temporary, will those containers be removed? And if they're to be removed when this need is gone, what's the remediation on the landscape?
Mike, you want to answer that?
My honest answer is we haven't really considered, say 10, 20 years out here. If it gets to the point where we don't need these things any day, I guess one day we could pull them out of there. I'm not really sure how to answer that question, honestly.
So is it safe to say that there's no short-term date by which this activity will be done? It may happen in the future. You just don't know for sure yet?
Correct. I would consider this a long-term plan.
Okay,
Understood. Just maybe something that, when it is removed, it's not left busting away and stuff like that.
good point. Thank you.
Yeah, and certainly a removal action would also require a filing because they're in the buffer zone.
I would say it would be reasonable for us if we ever did have to remove them to remove the gravel and put the grass back.
Any other questions from the public? Can you please come to the podium?
Joseph White, I live on Prescott Street, 65 Prescott. Maybe I missed it, but why doesn't DPW put this on their own land? I've been in that area. It's a large grassy field that is sometimes used for activities. So you're covering it now with containers. Those activities are shot. Why don't they just put it on land that they have?
Okay, thank you. Mike, do you want to answer that?
Yes, the situation at the DPW yard on New Crossing Road, we are completely overloaded down there. We have several storage containers on site already. Facilities has a storage container on site. The police department has a storage container on site. Our vehicles are left outside. We don't have room to even keep all of our vehicles inside. If you come down to the yard, you'll see for yourself, we are just completely out of room down there. And putting these down there would really just kind of be the straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of what we have available for space and storage. And I think it would impede our ability to complete our regular day-to-day operations down there.
I just also want to comment, I think you misunderstood where these containers are going to go. They're going to go inside a fenced area that's between the two buildings. They're not going to be on the large grassy area that is accessible to people.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody online, Chuck?
I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay, in that case, can I have a motion to close this hearing?
Move to close the hearing on 0 Stroud Ave container placement.
This is Tony. I will second that.
Mr. Talbot's in favor.
Tony Rodolakis in favor.
Xerox the liquor in favor.
John in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. What about conditions? Let's write down some conditions.
The one I brought up was I'd like to have the DPW work with Chuck Tironi for some sort of mitigation for this project. And that doesn't have to be determined immediately.
Also, limitation on this activity only, returning to us if there's something new. No work to the building, returning to us if that changes. Same with the parking area. If it changes, come back to us. And a limit on the frequency of visits. After that initial flurry, we're expecting 1 to 2 times a month. If that's going to change, back to us. Are there any other conditions?
I'd like a condition that the exterior be maintained and that it doesn't, any paint doesn't start flaking off
For what?
of the exterior of the containers.
Any other conditions?
Yeah, no work on the paved area. And I didn't, this might be something to ask, but they don't intend to set up any exterior lights. So my condition would be to not have any exterior lights, because we would.
Beyond the street light that's already there over the hydrant.
It's.
Okay,
Walter has his hand up.
Walter.
Yeah, no major cleaning taking place, whether detergents or water, whatever takes place.
Okay. Anything else? Then can I have a motion to issue an order of conditions?
I move to issue the order of conditions for 0 Stroud Ave.
This is Tony. I'll second that.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Tony Rodolakis in favor.
Xerox the liquor in favor.
John in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. Okay, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a nice evening.
And say goodnight to your son for us.
Thank you. Try to get him in the bath now.
Okay, well, we deal with that, we won't.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, the next hearing is 32 Harvard Street. This is a notice of intent. I'll read the blurb in a second. Okay, continue the public hearing on a notice of intent filed by Eleanor Joncroft pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act and or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant is proposing renovations on a single-family house. A portion of the house will be rebuilt, a small addition to the footprint will be added, and a second story will be added. The driveway will be expanded and walkways will be reconfigured. The rear yard will be regraded slightly to resolve a ponding issue. All of the work is within the buffer zone to border on vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at the Town Hall Conservation Office, 16 Lower Street, Reading, Mass. And on the Conservation Division page under Project by Year. Assessors Map 26, Lot 117, DEP file number 270-0790.
Hi, Ian. Do you want to introduce yourself for the record? And is the residents of 32 Harvard here?
Yes, I think they're under Adam Shonkoff. If you're looking
Okay.
at the participants. So my name is Ian Ainsley. I'm an engineer from Meister Brem, with the engineer working for the homeowner, aka the applicant. I am here with the homeowner, Eleanor and Adam Shonkoff, and we also have the architect on the project, Steve DeFuria, on as well from Phoenix Architects. I'm going to pull up the plan. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we were here at your December meeting. You had made a couple comments about things you wanted to see, get clarification on, things you wanted to see on the plan. Then it kind of run through the list of things that we've done since that meeting. We've added a couple notes to the plan, clarifying where the stockpile area is going to be, clarifying that the existing driveway is going to be used as the construction entrance, clarifying that some debris and other material that are in the wetland are going to be removed. We added 2 Caltech stormwater chambers to take the runoff from the roof of the addition over here. The 2 chambers are shown here. We have details of those on the plan. We've added a rain barrel, and that was something that the homeowner wanted to do for irrigation purposes. So we've added a rain barrel on the opposite side of the house that they had wanted to do. Let's see. We added a second line of erosion control right here along the 25-foot zone of natural vegetation. And the thought process behind that was we have some rear yard work, some grading and removal of a shed that we're going to be doing. But I think the commission didn't want to see this rear erosion control line be used for the whole project when the work is primarily being done over here. So the intent is to have this sort of 25-foot limit of work for the vast majority of the project. And then when they have to do work in here, then they'll come back with a second line of erosion control back here. So to kind of keep the limit of work as small and as far from the wetland as possible for as long as they can during the project. The other thing that we did was the commission was looking for some mitigation, some planting. I think you had suggested a 3-foot wide buffer or a 3-foot wide planting strip. So we have that 3 feet along the wetland here. It's that kind of gray line with the dots in it. And then we kind of widen out where the shed and the fire pit is now. And we have a planting schedule on the plan. So we're going to seed it with New England conservation mix. We're going to put in some shrubs, high bush blueberry, sheep laurel, and red eyes or dogwood. And those will be kind of spaced equally throughout the planting area. Chuck had also suggested putting in a couple signs, just saying conservation planting area, do not mow, so that any, future homeowners, I don't think they're intending to sell, but if anybody down the line goes back there, they'll know that they're not supposed to mow that. It's supposed to stay unmaintained permanently. I think those are all the big changes that we did. and happy to answer any questions. Tried to, check everything that the commission was looking for. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Okay, I have some. First, I want to thank you for all the changes you made. You really went down a list of things we had talked about the last time. I appreciate it. I do have a couple of questions. The first one has to do with that planting strip. Seems to be a discrepancy between the note on the plan and what's in the summary. Can you tell me with that planting strip, are you planning to put that in the wetland or along the edge of the wetland?
So over here, from I would say flags 2A to 4A, that is going to be along the edge of the wetland in the buffer. Once we get over here, 4A to 7A, the wetland juts out into the lawn right now. So you'd have this sort of funny scenario. If you were to follow the wetland line, you would have lawn, then planting area, then lawn again. I didn't really think it made sense to do that, and I thought replanting in the wetland would be more beneficial to kind of regenerate the wetland rather than the buffer zone. So we do have that replanting area following the tree line when it goes through that wetland area.
Yeah, that doesn't really satisfy the need for a vegetation strip there, though. I mean, again, in regulations, we can ask for up to 25 feet. Obviously, we're not doing that. We're only asking for 3 feet. So I really would rather see it be outside the wetland than planting in the wetland and quote unquote taking credit for the planting strip.
Sure, I mean, I think we'd be willing to do that.
Okay, good, thank you. Next one is I'd like to see an operations and maintenance document for the pervious pavers. I mean, I'm sure it comes with the product, but just if you can make sure that we have a copy of it for the records.
Sure, yep, I can provide that.
Next one has to do with the rain barrel. So in your summary, you talk about channeling the runoff from the back of the roof to the Cultec chambers. And yet on the plan, it looks like the rain barrel is situated to the right of that rear portion of the roof. Can you tell me what water's going where?
So the intent of the chambers is to take sort of the new portion of the house that's getting torn down, rebuilt right here. So this sort of left side of the house and the screen porch back here is going to be put into roof drains and put into the chambers. And then for the rain barrel, we're just going to take a portion of the existing house. They are adding a second story, but essentially existing impervious area, and just putting that in a different spot to capture a different portion of the roof than the chambers are capturing.
So a portion of the rear of the roof will go to the rain barrel. The water from the new addition will go to the chambers. And where's the remaining portion of the rear roof going?
I think it's going to capture pretty much the entire rear. The way that the roof line is done and the way that the downspouts are aligned back here, the chambers are going to capture, I would say, about 75% of the rear of the roof, and then the rain barrel is going to capture about 25%.
That's what I was wondering, but then you
Yeah.
had said that the addition was the part that would go to the chamber. But
Yeah.
if the bulk of the air is going to the chamber, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Those were my only questions. Chuck, do you have any questions, comments, observations?
Yeah, hi, Ian. Thank you for making all these changes. I wanted to ask about the Cultec. Did you perform groundwater analysis? Do you know if you have 2 feet of separation in that area?
I don't. We have not dug a test pit. Generally, we kind of keep it generic on the detail when we don't know the exact water table elevation. So we'll just say 2 feet minimum above the water table. And then when they dig it out there and they see the water, then they go 2 feet up from there. But I don't have a documented elevation right now.
Do you have a contingency plan if you can't make 2 feet?
Yeah, I think if we can't get the depth back there without, filling to a point that it's an issue, what we would probably do is look at maybe infiltrating a different portion of the house. Because the entire house, even the front, I believe, does flow toward the wetland. So we could possibly put it in the front yard and capture the front portion of the house instead and get the chambers higher because the grade is higher in the front of the house.
Okay. No, I appreciate that answer. That's what I had.
So do we have any questions from the public, either here or online? Anybody online?
Give a minute. I don't see anyone. So if you're online and you want to use the raise hand function,
It's under the
Use-
reaction.
use the reaction button and then hit the raise hand function.
Two-step process.
Yeah, 2 steps. Seeing none?
Okay. Then can I have a motion to close this hearing?
I move to close the hearing on 32 Harvard Street.
This is Tony, I'll second.
Walter Talbot has conditions, but I approve.
We'll get to those.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Chirag Stilicker in favor.
Michelle in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. Now we can talk about conditions. What do you have, Walter?
When we did the site visit a week or so ago, last month, there was what I would call a lot of trash in the back. Old propane tank, old flower pots, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to see those removed and cleaned up.
Sure, and that actually was one of the additions. They put a note on the plan, but it makes sense to have it as a condition too. Anything else?
Good for me.
Okay, anybody else in here? Then I have, the plantings will be outside the resource area like we agreed to in the meeting. And an operations and maintenance plan for the pervious pavers. Do you have anything else, Chuck?
Yeah, so on the plan, we typically ask that the 25-foot line has the granite bounds. And so I want you to address that in tonight's meeting. So typically we would just ask for them on the property line and then in between wouldn't receive any bounds. So this is a crazy wetland line. It'd be hard to follow, but still, it's,
Or we could ask for one flush with the ground,
you could.
somewhere in the middle. Anybody here have any opinions on that?
And these granite bounds would be at the 25-foot line.
25-foot line, yeah.
No, okay. So we'll add that as a condition that there'll be 25-foot boundary markers at the edge of the property, not in the lawn itself. Okay,
I think that's okay. If you don't mind, I think the homeowners are on. I just want to make sure they're okay with what we're discussing.
Hey, we're here. Eleanor has the flu, so she's off camera. But can you clarify what this question was about?
sure. There are stone posts, if you will, square posts, about 4 feet high. Most of it is in the ground. A foot or two is above the ground, and it marks, quote unquote, permanently the 25-foot buffer line that helps commissions and whoever in the future be able to locate it easily and correctly.
Wait, in the yard?
So where exactly is the proposal to put the?
It'll be 25 feet from the resource, but on the edge of your property, on either side of your property.
Okay.
So they're talking about two, I think, sort of one at the property line on the left and then one at the property line on the right.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, yep. Agree.
Any other conditions? Okay. In that case, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
I move to issue the order of conditions on 32 Harvard Street.
This is Tony. I will second that.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Tony Rodolakis in favor.
Xerox the liquor in favor.
Tim Michelle in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have fun with your project.
Thank you.
Document, oh, you did that. Okay, next one is,
Before we get started, I just want to let anyone know, if they don't have a seat, we have the conference room next door open. There's chairs in the corner and you can try to find a spot. We're okay with you getting closer to where we're at. The conference room is open in the next room and the Zoom feed is on the screen, but you would have to come in here to ask a question if you had one. So.
okay. So, this is the hearing for 0 Vine Street. I will read the blurb. This is to continue the public hearing on a notice of intent filed by MBTA Tess Paganelli pursuant to Massachusetts General Law Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes construction of approximately 4,500 linear feet of turnback track adjacent to existing mainline track within the existing railroad right-of-way and existing railroad ballast. Portions of the work are within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at the Town Hall Conservation Office, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, and on the Conservation Division page, to the project by year. 0 Vine Street from the train station to Willow Street near Assessors Map 20, Lot 195, DEP file number 270-0792. You want to bring up? Wayne? Do you want to speak to the project?
So I'm sorry. I'm going to look for at least someone I recognize. If anyone from the Keolis or MBTA team could just use the raise hand function and I'll spot one of you and you can help me get the rest of you into the meeting. Yep, there you go. Jeremy. Okay. Okay, Jeremy Fontaine is in the meeting and he'll be turning on his mic in a minute.
Hello, Jeremy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
When you get set up, can you walk us through it? And do you want Chuck to?
Let's get the rest in.
There's more. Have to wait to get the rest in.
Well, I don't know who they are. Jeremy, can you let me know who's with you tonight?
Yep, you should have Janice Kearney as well on the call. And we do have Alistair as well, who is in person.
Okay, I found Janice, so we're good to go.
Okay, do you want Chuck to put up a plan or do you have something you want to put up?
I can surely bring something up. So we did meet on December 16th and we're here being continued. So we did have a lot of supplemental questions that were asked from the commission that we have responded to. But just, I know you gave a summary, but just to kind of go to basics, there's about 567 linear feet that fall within.
Hang on. Jeremy, hang on. Do you want to display something that you talked to or?
Oh, yes, I thought I was.
No, that's okay. I was trying to get your attention, but I was not succeeding.
Yes. Hold that up and down. Apologies. I don't use, oh, here we go. All right, do you see my screen?
Not yet,
Here it comes.
coming up. Okay, we see it.
Okay, so I'll go to this image. So we have, like you mentioned, 4,500 feet of track that we consider turnback track going in. This is the engineering plans. So you can see this darker line here would be where the turnback track is proposed, and our existing track is adjacent to it. So if you were looking down, this is how it would look like looking westbound towards Willow Street. So this is an area where we had existing double track in the area, and we are proposing this to allow for 30-minute service from Reading to Boston. And again, all work is within buffer zone. It's existing track, it's existing ballast, it's within our right of way. We'd not be encroaching into the neighboring wetland at all throughout the project. And then for a little slight additional work, so down closer towards the station, you can see this is the 100-foot buffer. We would be putting in some conduit to allow for a new signal. Per the Wetlands Protection Act, that work that's within the buffer zone, we consider exempt per the Wetlands Protection Act, and I can cite that. It's also cited in the notice of intent, but that's just all to allow for the train to be able to go onto the turnout switches, which are right here, which are outside of the buffer zone. So I know there was a lot of questions that came up, supplemental questions. We are here to answer any additional ones. We have a great team here, so please let me know if you have any additional questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission?
Have we had a site visit?
No.
Did we arrange for one?
We
would
can,
like-
yes.
Yes, we would like to do that. While we're on the topic, we probably should try, are you guys able to pick a date now?
So I would just have to check with operations since it's an active track. So we would have to, get the appropriate people out there. We wouldn't be able to my knowledge, we wouldn't be able to walk the entire track just due to the timing and for the right-of-way certifications that are required for this. But we would be able to see a lot of the track, and there's also the bridge that goes over that we can see a lot of the track as well. But that is something we can arrange.
Well,
We would go ahead.
I'd like to be sure that we got to see wherever the narrowest part is, so we can understand that.
So I know that was a question that came up. Our right of way is consistent throughout. There is no change in distance, like the width. So if there is an area of concern that you consider maybe more narrow, that is definitely something we can try to visit. I would just want to clear with our safety team first, but yes.
Understood, that's a good idea. So what's the mechanism? Will you be in contact with Chuck to figure out a few days or times that would work, and then he can ask the commission what would work?
Yeah, absolutely.
That work?
Yeah, I would suggest, let's suggest a couple of dates. Now, I'm here, so I'm not an issue, but we usually do it on 9 o'clock on Mondays. Does that work for everyone? Because that would be one possible time that you could shoot for, Jeremy.
So Chuck, about 9 o'clock on the Monday before a meeting is what we typically put
No,
aside.
talking next month.
Okay, he's talking next Monday. That's different, but fine.
That's the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good Monday for me.
that's
Is
good.
that by chance the Monday of the holiday?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
it is.
That might be, yes.
That's why we're all free. Okay, so, Tony, what about the 21st, a Tuesday?
21st in the morning is okay.
All right, so it looks like. Correct.
Should be okay.
I can do the morning on that day.
So by morning, you mean 9?
Well,
I'm in New York.
I'm free until noon. So 9 would be fine. I think the trains go less frequently the later in the morning we get, so. The question is, what window do we?
Look into Wednesday at 9. For everyone.
So Wednesday at 9 is better for me than Tuesday morning.
Same here.
But if push came to shove, I could do Tuesday,
Back.
but Wednesday sounds better.
We're looking at Wednesday, the 22nd.
Yeah.
So that's the same day as our next hearing.
Yeah, and it sounds like the whole commission could be available at that point. Unless you're gonna nod your head. Okay, so that would be better for us is Wednesday, the 22nd.
Okay,
And,
yeah, I'll work with Chuck on that and I'll just get with our operations and get a train schedule and make sure we have the appropriate safety staff on site.
What about the previous week as well? Could we give them?
What about the
options
13th and the
on
14th and the 15th?
15th I could do. I can't.
15th is wide open for me.
15th is the best.
9 a.m.
So the 15th works out also, Jeremy.
Okay, that's good to have multiple, so I have a couple options. Yes, we'll most
the
likely be able to make one of those days work.
Yeah, it's 22nd, I'm gone.
Okay, so Jeremy, the 15th is the better of the 2 dates?
I'm in Italy, I forgot.
Okay,
Jeremy will also be bringing or inviting the engineering staff and the planning staff to come out there with us.
I thought you were gonna say he's bringing the coffee, but okay.
Brian, one objective I have for the site meeting is to take a look at the wetland conditions. I'm especially interested to see if there might be flowing water or a drainage channel along the embankment, which is a frequent condition along embankments.
Is there any particular place you might expect to see that? In other words, is there an area that we should target?
Yes, there's at least 2 that need to be investigated.
Okay, so when you're coordinating with Jeremy, could you be sure that sites is on the, is it within the window that we have?
Yeah, so what Tony's describing is a wetland on one side, but some sort of like drainage ditch that somehow always has water in it on the other side. And there's 2 of those situations along Vine Street.
Yeah, so if you can just, when you're talking with Jeremy, just make sure at least one of those areas is.
Those are quite accessible, so I don't think those are going to be an issue.
Good. Okay,
What I would most like to see is the parts of the track that are in the jurisdictional area. I mean, that's the parts that we're in charge of.
Yeah.
So, and there seems to be 2 blobs of jurisdictional area on the track, so.
So one's equivalent to Hunt Street, the end of Hunt Street. And I don't know if there's any access down there. This is where I don't know if Jeremy can get us out there, but I will talk to Jeremy and he'll talk to his team about getting the commission out there. Because it's not just like on Vine Street, some of it's in back of people's property, but that particular area is not only in back of someone's property, but there's another parcel of land. So that it's like a big walk through the woods, you know,
okay,
or up the tracks.
right, and the commission doesn't want to be in the woods, clearly, so, okay.
Yeah, we never go.
Having said that, we'll have a site visit. Are there any other questions from the commission before the site visit?
and I will just make one note, just due to safety, and I know you just mentioned a lot of people. It could get tricky and I'll get more details. We usually wouldn't want 20 people walking the tracks, hopefully that for safety reasons and for regulations, both state and federal. So I'll work with Chuck and we can get a number and then we can kind of go from there. We could take pictures and maybe help people who maybe aren't able to. If it's too many people, it's just more of a,
I think we're around 10.
okay. Yeah, I'll be in touch with you, Chuck, and coordinate that.
Okay. So any more questions from the commission before we?
I think last time, I think it was one of the questions, I think it's the first one. Said 4,500 feet and the train was shorter, if I remember correctly. And where does it actually, when it's waiting there for 30 minutes or an hour, where does it actually wait and how short is it?
So on the map here, and Alistair is also there, can speak more of the operations, so it would wait to mine right up this area. Alistair, if you wanna, yeah, I can.
Yeah, that's correct.
Second, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry. Alistair Sawers, I'm the head of rail modernisation, so I'm actually the planning aspect of the team for commuter rail. I'm responsible for the electrification and the increase of service levels. This is an early action project. It's meant to deliver 30-minute headways, i.e. 2 trains an hour, clock face to, that means same number of minutes past the hour to Reading and all the stations along the line. So that's the reason why we're doing this. We're not just doing this anymore to interrupt you, and we do understand it has an impact. The key point here is when you enter a siding like this, the intent is to turn the train round. So you're, rather than physically pivoting or going around the loop track, the engineer is getting out and moving to the other end of the train. So to do that safely, you have to get off the main line sufficiently so another train can pass. So we're not holding up the Haverhill trains. They can go through on the other track. So that is the objective of this. So we can run a shuttle back and forth from Reading every hour, but it is effectively every 30 minutes. So this will be a very short dwell here. So you talked about an hour, it won't be an hour. So the 30-minute requirement, because you're going back and forth, it'll actually be at the most 15 minutes. So that's the first point we'll make clear to everybody. So we understand it still has an impact. They still have to get out of the train at the front end. They'll be coming out on the locomotive at the front end, the driver, going into that turn track. Because they're coming at speed, it takes a distance to slow down again. So that's the other point. And you want to make the curve reasonable speed. I mean, having been at Reading's station, let the passengers off. When you go into that turn track, you're coming in at speed, you don't have to brake again. So we'll be near the end of that line there, where the train is stopped permanently for safety. You know, you have to make sure there's sufficient braking distance. And the engineer will get out, do a visual inspection, go to the other end of the train where there's the cab car, and they can operate going back into Boston in the cab car, they operate. That's how you turn a train. You actually walk from one end to the other, basically. And once you get to the other end, the only other activity is to test the brakes. That's an FRA requirement. Each time change ends is to test all the brakes. So that takes a few minutes. So the actual dwell time is significantly shorter than the current 45-minute turn, which is done at Reading Depot. So Reading Depot Station, basically bring a train out for the few, about 8 a day, that are turned at Reading Station at the moment. Those sit there for approximately half an hour for the 45-minute turn. So in aggregate, the amount of idling is pretty much the same. It's just more frequent short idling versus a long idle currently at Reading Station. So not ideal. This is diesel. I am working on electrification, but we all know that takes a very long time to achieve, but it's my day job. But this is a first step, and we'll need it for the electrification too. Same thing to provide that higher surface to people.
Okay, thank you. Sure, that answer your question?
Yeah. So before you sit down, I had a question. I'm just going to jump here a little bit. It looks like you're at the very end of the tracks.
Yeah.
Why? So you've decided to stage right there with wetlands on either side.
Correct.
You have 4,500 feet, but you have to be at the very end.
That is purely a safety buffer, so we may or may not get that far into it, but you require that braking distance in case there's a braking issue. And, you know, leaves on the line, all the other issues that we do have. So that's the reason, so we can approach the switch at full speed.
So I don't know if you've run into this before, but under 10.2.2B3, the Conservation Commission can impose conditions to protect its resource area and the interest of the act, and we can any kind of alteration. If this commission feels like there's alteration or doesn't want to take the risk, they can eliminate that section out of this application. So I'm not sure why you want to park at the very end in the most sensitive area. Although I understand when I say sensitive, it might be in air quotes, but still there's less sensitive areas on that run of 4,500 square feet. So, now I'm going to talk to everyone here. So there is some, there's a difference between what the neighborhood wants and what the Conservation Commission wants. And I think, and I hope you all understand that. So we're here to protect the wetlands, and that's our concern. So we really want this out of the wetlands, which would push it probably closer to the train station. And, it might be the opposite for the community here and the residents. There are other spots in town, not so close to where this group of people are, that don't affect either one of us. But that's what you're going to hear tonight. So it's not that I don't understand what you're going through and what this will add to your, daily grind. But for the Conservation Commission, we're really supposed to think of the 8 interests of the act. So that's why I brought that up. That's where we're going to be coming from. And I know we want to see the site, and then we would have more questions, but that's the basis of where the commission can draw its authority. That's right out of the WPA. That's all I wanted to say, Brian.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission before we go anywhere else?
And just to restate though, we are just in buffer zone.
Okay,
Well, the work in the buffer zone is subject to that.
Yeah.
10-2, 2B2, 2B3.
And when you say you're just in the buffer zone, the piece of the track where we're talking about the train idling is on the dike in between 2 wetlands that are not buffer zone, correct?
It's on the main line on the ballast. So
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
where the legacy track.
Where it's raised up, but there's wetland on both sides. So should there be a diesel spill, it's gonna flow down the ballast right into the wetland.
The same is true of the main line. So it is,
Yeah.
it's a risk, and it's a risk on all our track. Yeah, that's it
Right.
goes through a wetland area. Yeah.
But the main line is traveling along and getting out of there quickly. This one is gonna be sitting there for 15 minutes. So there's higher possibilities of oil leakage while it's sitting there. So,
Both are extremely unlikely, but
yeah,
of course, there's a
Right.
chance, and unfortunately, the most likely chance is an accident, and that's more likely on the main line, but yeah.
okay.
But, yeah, that's good.
okay, Tony, you want to say?
In the applicant's paperwork, they included a law department opinion on the applicability of local bylaws. And my reading of that, I'm summarizing, is that local bylaws, they're exempt from local bylaws where those bylaws would affect or interfere with the agency's ability to provide its basic function. I think I've got that part more or less understood. There's already a service being provided. The addition of a track would in some ways improve that, but not building a track there wouldn't be preventing that service from being carried out.
It would prevent 30-minute service. So it would prevent, there is a policy objective, it's come from the governor, etc., that has been implemented by the MBTA to expand the service to Reading, within Route 128. So it's an urban rail policy objective that came through visioning documents that have been circulated to the NPO and all the other sort of planning processes, has come up with this objective. So that's where it comes from. And this would not be possible to Reading. It may be possible to Wakefield, but it would no longer be possible to Reading if we didn't put this turn track here. So that's what would be changed.
Right, but we wouldn't be not building a track wouldn't result in an obstruction of service. It wouldn't even result in a deterioration of service. It wouldn't change service.
It would go against a policy set somewhere else, yes. So it would frustrate an objective of the agency, but I mean, that's what would be the result.
I'm still a little unclear as to how a no action alternative that doesn't change an existing condition, which is providing a benefit, would fall under an exemption like this.
Got it. That's good.
So now we're gonna ask the public. Here's how we're gonna do it. There's a lot of people here. We don't have forever. So we need to focus our questions just on these proposed changes in this location. We're not here to talk about what may or may not have been considered in another part of the line. We're not here to talk about idols, not here to talk about noise. That's not our jurisdiction. Right, so one by one, I'll ask people to come up to introduce themselves for the record. And there'll be 2 conditions that I'll be looking for. Please don't repeat a previous speaker. And please stick to what I just said about what's in our jurisdiction. And this is not about, as Chuck said, this is not about what we want as individuals or residents. This is us paying attention to our jurisdiction.
And
To that.
we should alternate people here, people online.
Fair enough.
So,
Okay, everybody understand that? We all agree to it? All right, and the first, Lamb,
Are you
come up
gonna
first.
set any time limit?
That's a good point. We're gonna limit to 2 minutes per speaker, just because there may be a lot, and we're gonna limit the whole thing to a half hour. Okay? Are you raising your hands to come up to speak? Okay, hang on.
The question,
Yeah,
what do you propose to take up as a solution to this problem? That, you want to stick to the one subject, but when are you going to propose to do other, take on other proposals?
yeah, I'm not going to because that's not our jurisdiction. If that wants to be addressed somewhere else in town government.
The Commerce Act.
So what we want to do is make sure that this is discussed in the context of the regulations that we have, both local and state, under the exemptions that have been ruled on by the judicial system. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to stick to those guidelines because that's what we have to work with. And none of our decisions here or anything else can we just do things because it feels good. It's what we want to do. It has to be according to the regulations. Okay, that's our straight jacket. That's it's a straight jacket for all of us in this meeting. Having said that, you want to come up and start us?
I just have one additional question.
Yeah.
Given the short period of time and the number of people that are here tonight, if there are additional questions that come up or if more people want to speak, is there a way that folks could
want me to do that? Or you got it?
continue this into the next meeting? If
So 2 things. We're doing a site visit, so there will be another meeting and we will take more questions at that point. And so, yeah, that's one opportunity. I suppose theoretically you could email Chuck.
Yeah.
Because he has all the time in the world to read his email.
So the best way to get the best way to get the questions to the Conservation Commission is not to say them here, because it's lost. It's not lost on deaf ears, but we can easily add it to the record when you email them. So you can find my email address on the town website. You can call, I can help you out with that, but emailing is the best. And all the conservation, well, some of them, most of them, the chair at least has his email on the Conservation Commission page. And you can email the chair also. So that's the best way, but.
So having said that, let's get to it.
Thank you.
And I know you introduced yourself before.
Kyle Torno, 43 Vine Street. 2 questions. One, in order to set this up and put the 2 tracks in there was nothing demonstrated on how that is done in terms of what the rail bed is. And if it has to get wider, which is then encroaching rocks and stuff like that. And then the other question is in terms of a train idling there, these are diesel engines, they have oil, they drift, they leak. That's getting into the groundwork.
Do you want to come up and address?
He addressed the questions to you. They're not supposed to be looking that way.
Good point.
Jeremy to go first or?
Sure, so I can just address the, so our right of way, it will not be expanded. We will not be expanding into the wetland. We have already the ballast in our right of way there. So we would be just elevating the current ballast there to meet the level of the current track, but there will not be any additional ballasts that would be going into the wetland or outside of our property limits.
Anything you want to add to that?
As I was saying, it's shown on the plan. I mean, and the plan is on the record.
Okay. Next,
So addressing the question, oil leak. So in terms of the oil leak, minimal oil leak, it will be there for a very short amount of time. It's the same as the main line. And there is erosion control protections already to sort of.
Accumulates over a period of time.
excuse me, you can't have back and forth, okay?
So that is, so I prefer it.
Okay, do you want to come up? Please identify yourself for the record. Please address your questions to me.
Oh, Pat Crowley, 71 Vine Street. I'm here to speak on a couple of issues. One, we were here last night to present to the select board because they were never notified by the MBTA. And it gets to your point, Tony, that the MBTA does not feel that the jurisdiction is something that they have to inform the town about. We see it that as an exception. It's not in a essential government function. It's an add-on, and they should have gone to the town about this. They didn't, and we are now trying to talk to people about this. The other issue is discussion about the other location, which we feel should be discussed because it was.
However, excuse me, if I can jump, not in this meeting, not our jurisdiction, so.
But it was part of the questions. It was addressed to the MBTA.
Okay, but that's not part of this conversation, not part of this meeting. This meeting is about this proposed work in this proposed location.
All right.
That's our jurisdiction.
I'd also like to address the anti-idling law of 5 minutes. And that does affect conservation land. If they're idling more than 5 minutes, that's a violation. They would be fined on that.
Okay.
And I'd like to know how they would address that.
I can,
Hang on one second. So are you all done?
No.
So
Finish, and then they can answer all your questions.
Okay, we do have people here to talk on the conservation land and also to look at the location that I know, I don't know if the MBTA has had a chance to actually walk the property, the whole property, and see the location of the Tanneville property. And I know that's included in looking at the effect of 80 units of disabled and elderly people who reside on the old Reading platform of this old train station. And those people are at ground level. I think somebody has to be concerned, and that's why we brought it to other people.
yeah, again, watch our jurisdiction, but thank you for.
Okay. We do have a student that should be going home soon.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a presentation at last night's select board meeting. I asked them to give the same presentation tonight, so I don't know who is here for that, but if they could be like lined up and do the same thing again, we could do that now and then turn it over to someone online that may want to speak, because we have some select board members online and others. So maybe that's what we should do at this point. Just get this presentation out of the way. I think it educates the conversation.
Last this presentation.
Well, Abel is a student, 10 years old, that he is going to speak about the conservation
Okay,
land.
hang on a second. He can introduce himself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kaden Mersikowski. I'm 10 years old and I go to Barrows Elementary School here in Reading. I live very close to the train tracks and conservation land where they are trying to do this. I love spending time down at the conservation land, ice skating, riding bikes, and enjoying the sights and sounds. People mainly go down to the conservation land to enjoy peace and quiet, and that would all be stopped if there is trains running and their fumes and smoke polluting the air. I love to spend time outside doing lawn care, and I don't want to get a headache due to the air pollution. Also, in the spring, my grade is going on a field trip to the conservation land, but that might have to be changed due to the air quality and noise. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. Hopefully we do not have to do this taking away from our conservation land and neighbors' backyards.
Excuse me, before you go, what was your first name again?
Hayden Bursikowski,
And what's your address?
27 Woodward Ave.
Okay, thank you for coming here and doing this. Thank you for having interest in conservation land. We appreciate it. Thank you. Do online first?
Nope.
My name is Tom Gattadaro from Vine Street. I gave the presentation last night with all of the photos, but I think that a lot of them don't pertain to tonight. So if we could just see slide number 1, I think that would be it. And for the people who are wondering about alternatives and things, if I could just mention that last night, this presentation was given to the selectmen. So it is being looked at in the selectmen, other than just conservation.
Good.
Is this slide number 5?
Yes.
Oh. All right, so let's get
It's a map of the wetlands.
Oh, I didn't grab that one.
I think you'll find that counting is not his skill.
You're an MBTA, go into presentation, and I've got numbered page 1, 2, 3, 4. Should have a folder there.
Did you name it map? Or Wilson Street, existing siding, MBTA's response document, and MBTA response summary to New Crossing Road North, New Crossing Road
This
South.
is another folder in there that says presentation.
Yes, there is.
Page
And page 1. There you go.
This is just a map of the wetlands, and I've circled all of the wetlands that are trouble. And Tannerville and the schools. It's going to be near the schools, which don't apply tonight, but all of the wetlands are circled and the proposed track is there. And that's all that really applies for tonight. The rest was addressed last night.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Do you want to take somebody from online?
Yeah, if someone,
Or perhaps?
if there's someone online who'd like to speak, we have the reaction button and the raise hand function. If you could just do that, if you want to say something. So far, seeing none, we can go back to this crowd.
Okay. Somebody else from here want to come up and speak?
Again, I was here last time. My name is Jim Riley, 87 Hancock Street, Reading, Mass. I had a ton of things I wanted to say to you, but he helped clarify and you helped clarify what this meeting is about. Relative to the existing proposed second rail turnback track, people have brought up, and I'm going to re-bring it up, as trains idle, they increase diesel fumes in the air. And near that area is Tannerville Independent Living Center, 1. And 2, right across from the area they're going to be sitting at is Parker Middle School. Parker Middle School has a ton of games going on all summer long. Trains idling in that location, in my opinion, are going to cause issues. Listening to the representatives here, people brought up different points that there may be alternatives to the existing proposed line. And one of the issue is the conservation land being a major issue, and there's other alternatives. I would like to suggest that as you're going out and walking the proposed line, if you have time or make another time, walk the proposed alternatives, which are not in the conservation area. I believe that is an alternative that is well-defined. Many people have brought up that point. So if you could one day walk the conservation, and if we have to, as a group, get another group to walk the alternative, because I'm not gonna say it, I believe it's the best thing for all of us, right?
We got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Patty McGrath. I live at 76 Vine Street. My husband and I have lived in Reading for 46 years. I was a Reading school teacher for many years. I'm here because of my concerns about the MBTA expanding into the conservation land and through our neighborhoods. The implications are many, but I wish to speak about the health concerns for the hundreds
Excuse me.
and
Can I intrude for a second? Conservation, we don't get into health issues. So,
this does the impact of the de-icing, fuel spills, gassing, and no matter where they put it, it's going to impact your conservation land and the people that live near the air they breathe. My husband has Parkinson's, people have cancer.
so what I'm trying to say though, is that that's not our purview. Our purview is the regulations under which we operate. And that's it. It's not health, even though we care about people's health. It's none of those things. Okay, so unless you have something else.
But if there are train fumes in the conservation area, you don't think that's going to impact the conservation area?
There are no regulations associated with that, and that's our purview.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you for your time.
We have someone online.
Okay, we're gonna do an online first. If you could just hang over there for a minute. Okay, who's online? Can you give us your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, this is Karen Herrick. I'm assuming we don't have 3 select board members in the meeting, or else I can just ask the question as a resident.
I only see one other one online.
And there's none in the room.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for all your time tonight. So we did have a number of the residents present at the select board last night, and it is concerning of the additional health considerations in this area. But the thing I wanted to bring up and what I don't understand is though, so Reading does have an environmental justice area, which is along Vine Street. And I'm not sure if it is how your jurisdiction relates to the environmental justice area, and that is something that maybe we just want to make sure that the MBTA is paying attention to, and if it is within your jurisdiction, because this would be a classic example of why we don't want to burden already burdened neighborhoods. So and honestly, I can see on the map that it runs along Vine Street, but I'm gonna have to defer to both the MBTA and you all to whether it is appropriate to even bring it up in this setting. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Really?
You want to address that, or Jeremy? What Karen's question was about that area?
As for the EJ communities, at this point, we might get back to you on that. We didn't, usually that falls under MIPA with an M, which there were no triggers for the thresholds for that, but that is something I can come back with an answer for.
Yeah, I don't know, can they hear me?
Yes.
Jeremy, sorry, yeah, we can, Janice Kearney, I'm Chief of Environmental, we can get back to you on that matter. I'm not exactly sure, environmental justice along with the wetlands, so I have to look into that.
That'd be great, thank you. Somebody else in the room? Somebody's getting pointed out. Oh, yeah.
Just one more. Name is Mike Devanacucci. I live at 14 Vale Road. I'm only up here because this little guy here have the courage to do this. You're scheduling a site visit. What is the reason for the site visit? And after you come back from the site visit, what can we do for ourselves to come back better prepared after your review of the site visit? In other words, what kind of questions might we have for you guys after you perform your site visit?
So a couple of points. First of all, if you have questions you think you'd want us to give you answers to, why don't you send them in the truck ahead of time so we can have them fresh in our minds when we're doing the site visit.
Okay.
As far as site visits, we do site visits, I'd say to 99.99% of the projects that come before us. A lot of that's because seeing something in person can give you a better feel for it than plans. Not everybody reads plans as well, and sometimes, you know, see old figures lie and liars figures. Sometimes it's better to see it. So we're gonna walk it, get our own sense about any erosion issues, how close things are. And just seeing it will give us more information. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I would add a big piece of our site walkovers is to confirm the wetland delineations, that the resource areas that are reported on the figures match what we see there also.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'm just gonna say one other thing. We always like to look at what kind of vegetation there is and whether that's gonna be impacted by the project. And whether there is yard waste is a classic thing we look at.
Yeah.
Although I'm not expecting a lot of yard weight from the railroad, but you never know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna chime in too. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So when we're on a site visit, we want to verify site conditions. We want to look for erosion control issues, and we want to look out for potential adverse conditions that may affect this project may affect. It's like the commission said, it's something we typically do, usually do it before we talk, but still, this is a bigger project, and I think that we would like some of the things mesh up good with the regulations, such as steep slopes and proximity of the resource area. And if we could verify that and say we went on a site visit, then we have more pressure with our regulations. And so that's another reason why we want to go out there, just to verify things that we know exist. But, you know, if everyone, and as they should, I've never walked these tracks or any other tracks, so to God. And so I've only heard that there's steep slopes. So we just want to verify that kind of information, and we can make a better, you know, a better discussion with the next time at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Is somebody over there gonna come up?
Just very quickly, my name is Susan Nelson. I live at 128 Vine Street. I have two questions. Although I've studied the reports, I don't quite understand exactly where the trains are going to be parked. I would like to know the house numbers on Vine Street that are going to be directly affected by view, by noise, and by pollution, with where you're planning on doing that. And excuse me, the second question is, what is your planned or proposed completion date for the project?
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Brian, I'm going to pull the map up. So, but you can take the next one and I'll just, when I get it.
So if you can think of an answer to that one, then we can see if anybody else wants to come up in the meantime. Sure, just give us your name and address, please.
Sure. So my name is David Comito. I live at 21 Woodward Ave. My family and I have lived there for 47 years. I look at this as a conflict or an irony between the commission and the people here. To the extent that you do your job properly, protect wetlands means having to have the trains idle closer to where these good people live, because they live in an area that's not wetlands. They live in the area between, say, the Mineral Street Bridge and the end of Hunt Street. And there are houses that line both sides of the tracks that are, I believe, not on wetlands. So your goals in terms of what you're protecting are admirable, noble, but they conflict with what people here are saying. They're worried about noise, they're worried about pollution, they're worried about all of the effects that have been talked about tonight. They're not salutary effects, they're obviously detrimental effects. Is it your job if, and I understand you can only do what you have jurisdiction for doing and what the laws say you can do, to therefore refer these problems, our problems, to someone else in the town? Is there a referral process? Do you automatically say to the selectmen or some other department within the town that we're gonna, these people have a problem, it's not our jurisdiction, but we believe you should take it on? Do you make that referral? Do we make that referral? Because we obviously need a referral here.
So you made an interesting point. I agree with your premise that the goals can be in conflict.
Yeah, because you're gonna be looking at Willow Street where there are fewer houses.
I understand. I don't know of any formal referral process. Chuck, do you know of any?
Yeah, so the staff that's at Town Hall has worked together for many years. We're a tight group. I work closely with the engineering department and the planning department and all the other departments' health. We bring those in when we see an issue. This has been highlighted and those departments know about it. And each one of those departments, and as a matter of fact, that's how I knew that they would want to come on the site visit. So that safeguard is it's a town hall that works together, and we certainly have that here.
Can I ask a question about that more specifically? I mean to hone in on this a little more. I watch a lot of crime shows on Netflix. Has a case number been open? Is there an open case that's been assigned with a number and a letter and all that stuff with the select, with some other department in the town? Okay, it's now an open case that's being addressed.
So it was direct, no, so there's not a case number. We have a number, a DEP file number for this portion of it. But I'm not sure how planning works if they assign a number to each one. But it hasn't risen to that level yet. This is just something where the staff needs to be involved. There's plenty of regulations that, as you can see, that the MBTA came in here and their understanding of their regulations was that this can happen. But they knew they had to talk to the town. And so, the town looks at it with the residents in mind and with us with the wetlands in mind. And we look deeper into our own regulations and find out if that is actually the truth. And so that's what we're doing here. We're just making sure that this assumption that the MBTA came in with actually is correct.
What do you think the timeline is for starting the project?
I don't know about starting the project. I can tell you about the timeline for the Conservation Commission. We probably have 1-2 meetings left before we make a decision. I wouldn't miss any of them because the decision may come at the next meeting. And that's every 2 weeks, unless the applicant wants to delay it.
A little correction, it's not every 2 weeks, it's the second and fourth Wednesday of the month. And I say that because in January there's 5 nights. So.
Okay, thank you.
I have that map up if.
Just gonna ask you one quick question. He asked a good question, and all I want to say is reach out to the town manager. I sent a letter to the town manager related to the conservation issues. I'm trying to keep it here the right way. And to Phil Lang, the CEO of MBTA. And I'd like to pass these out to everybody here.
Can you remind us what your name is?
Jim Riley, 87 Hancock Street, Reading, Mass.
Okay, we got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before, someone asked a question about where the train is staging. Can you use, I think they could see houses here. Is that section right there?
That's the wrong section.
This is where we're talking about now. Let me see if I get this.
It's near the end of Turnpike.
Right in here? Okay, so this is where the staging area is proposed.
So what is the address?
There is
85 Hancock Street.
There is. It's in the conservation.
How long is 850 feet of train compared to the distance on that map? What's our scale?
But presumably the key point for everybody is the locomotive. Locomotive is at the far end, as in the outbound end. It's in the north side.
Mhm.
It's the furthest away from the houses.
Yeah, divided by 5.
Where that blue line is, that
No, it's beyond, it's beyond that.
If you go to the other map, the
Can we
other
not
picture,
have
if
the
you keep
camera
scrolling
on?
down.
So somewhere in that 567 feet is the likely location of the locomotive. It won't always be the same because I would say describe braking distances and all the other sight lines. They vary by time of year, but that's probably where it is. So it's not adjacent to any housing, it's adjacent to the wetland area.
Yeah, so if I go back up to this other map, it's actually, it's up in here where they're stopping.
And then somebody else asked how long. It's going to take 12 months whenever, we're given permission to start. But it may be up to 16 months, 16 to 18 months even, depending if that falls through weeks.
Thank you. Can I?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll take this woman and then one person beyond that, and then we'll continue for the evening.
No, at what time does this travel time start in the morning and what time does it end at night? How many trains are gonna be going back and forth from the beginning of the day to the end?
Same services we currently run, so it starts around 5:30 and ends around 11, but between 9 and 11, I think it's like one train. That's approximately.
So during the course of the day, it'll be one train?
No, during the course of the day, every hour. there will be a train.
Every hour, that will be going back and forth, back and forth, so it'll be like a train barn.
No, there'll be two, because there'll also be one going through to April.
So we'll have double. Okay, but knowing that this is the conservation, and that's why the residents took it to the select board. We've reached out to senators, representatives, the governor, the CEOs, everybody we can, because we realize this is way beyond the conservation, our issue. But I never got my answer about the anti-idling law of 5 minutes.
And you won't get it today. Well, go ahead if you can answer it.
Yes, I can answer that. So thank you for your question on that. So that's actually not for diesel trains. For the diesel trains, it's a limit of 30 minutes for idling. And that's also our EPA also that regulates that. So 5 minutes is not for diesel trains. And that's 310 CMR 7.11.2. And so our train would not be idling for that long.
What I read said it pertains to diesel trains, 5 minutes, and that was the whole reason.
So if I can suggest that between now and the next meeting, we can look into that and see if, well, you can look and we can look too. So we'll have a better idea. I certainly don't have that on top of my head. Take one more.
Can I just respond to that a little bit?
Of course.
So very briefly, I mean, part of what we were trying to say is the benefit of the turn track and the higher frequency services, it's not sitting there for 30 minutes. So that 30-minute limit is never going to be hit because you have to actually make the 30-minute service, which includes letting passengers off, moving the train onto the turn track, doing the brake check. That's the bit of idling, and then coming back out. It's actually, if you add up the minutes of idling, equivalent to what happens right now at Reading Depot, the 45-minute service. And the Reading Depot idling is a lot closer to the school, the old age facility or the low income facility. So I actually think in aggregate, it's the same amount of emissions. It's just unfortunately affecting different people. And at the moment, it's going to be in the wetlands. That's further away from people, but idling always affects people. So, I mean, till I get my electrification done, that's what we're going to have. But
Thank you.
Before you sit down.
Hang on 1 second, Chuck has something to say first, and then we'll go to you.
I was gonna say, before you sit down, I was just gonna ask, who polices that 30 minutes? Because so people let us know that you're gonna be idling for an hour. When we first had our first meeting, it was like 10 minutes. And I'm not sure if this came from officials, but that's what was in the air. Okay, so now we're back down to 30 minutes, and that can be a condition in the order of conditions. But who polices it? And the EPA, but they're not out there every day. So who?
But we do track our idling. We do track our idling times. Janice could probably.
Yeah. So EPA EPA has federal enforcement jurisdiction on us, but actually local boards of health. I mean, if you look at this, if you look at the regulation, it comes under the, it's also under the local boards of health for enforcement. So that's where if you exceed 30 minutes, local boards of health can, they can enforce against us, but EPA and DEP can as well.
But you also track it, so it's like there's an internal mechanism to verify that you're not going over the 30 minutes.
Yes, the locomotives, and Alistair can probably speak to this as well. The locomotives have a number of, I'm going to call them black boxes on them, or other mechanisms where they can track what is being, why it's being run, when it's being run, including on the line and in the layovers.
Okay, thank you.
GPS location, temperature, speed, all those things are all.
And this is important. This is a MBTA policy that you make sure is enforced.
Yes.
And when you see these numbers going over 30, something needs to be done.
Precisely.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure there was an internal mechanism.
So as this fine resident makes their way up, I'll just remind everybody that we will be having another meeting. And there'll be another opportunity for questions at that point. So this is not your last chance. You have time to think about it in the meantime. Why not? Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Virginia Weeks. I live at 43 Vine Street in Reading. And I don't know if this was covered in any prior meetings, but is it within your jurisdiction to request an environmental impact statement and study to measure the number of emissions that are emitted into the air and the particles and types of particles? I don't know what they're called, carbon, I don't know. As you all know, there's been a lot of investment in redoing the conservation area, which is wonderful. We've already had an impact on the species, the animals. Can you request a study to determine that impact?
Any question? Jeff, any opinions on that, Jeff?
I believe the commission can ask for anything that would help them make a determination. Jeremy.
To my knowledge, since we are only in buffer zone, and alternate analysis we're not subject to that. We wouldn't be providing alternate analysis. That helps answer your question, because we were just within buffer zone and we're not impacting any wetlands.
Okay, hang on.
So I think the WPAS allows for an alternative analysis, well, whether you're within buffer zone or the riverfront. But I don't think that's what we were asking. And I can cite those sections to you because it's come up before, and I've asked DEP that same question, and I know it's clear within the riverfront, but it's also allowed within the buffer. But I think what the question was is, have you been asked by any other town that you went to their conservation commission for this statement or this information?
Janice, do you mind helping?
No, I'm going to say no, because I believe what she's asking for is not within the conservation commissions and wetlands, because what she's asking for is air emissions data and information that has separate triggers under different regulations. So, you know, you might be, a different project may trigger air quality regulations, which have different requirements under Mass DEP regulations, as well as MEPA triggers. So that's generally when an environmental impact statement would come into play or be requested, not for wetland impacts.
So you could change your question to ask if we've have the right to ask for an alternative analysis, which might be interesting.
So what I'll suggest is that we will look at this as well in the interim and see if we can find anything that gives us better information, what we can and can't do there.
I think that would be very important for your decision-making process.
As he said, it would be an interesting question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, I'd like to point out, this is where the local bylaw exemption becomes important, because in our bylaws in section 3D1, under the zone of natural vegetation, which is not the entire buffer zone, but about a quarter of it, we have authority to consider things like light levels, temperature. And then at the end of that section is some very loose language about alterations shall be avoided or mitigated within the wetland. And it's possible that some of these issues, like air quality, I don't think we've gone there yet to that extent under this bylaw. But if this project were to be subject to local bylaws, that may be an avenue where some of these questions could get further investigated through other studies or modeling exercises or other alternatives analysis. That's why the bylaw question is important.
Matthew, you get that citation?
3D1.
3D.
I
Mr.
think we're done for tonight. I'm not sure who to speak to, Jeremy, Alistair, whatever. Would you agree to a continuation to our next meeting?
We do.
Okay.
Is it all right? Would I be able to just address two questions that weren't addressed, especially by the student about the conservation land? Is that okay? Appropriate?
As long as you're quick.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that we are not encroaching into conservation land. We're not we're not expanding. It's within an existing right of way where historically there was a double track. So just for your concern, I do appreciate your question on that. We're not expanding or taking any conservation land.
Okay. Is that Jeremy?
Yes, thank you.
So can I have a motion to continue to
The 22nd.
January 22nd?
I move that we continue this hearing on January 22nd.
Second that. I second that. Walter.
Good. Walter, we're voting.
We're voting. Chirag Stalekar, second that.
Walter Talbot approves.
Whatever the law is in favor.
Chirag Stalekar in favor.
Yeah, email, yes.
Rainbow in favor.
I can keep it. It's okay. It's in the file.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will be quiet for a moment till the room empties.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, everyone that showed up.
Chuck, I will wait for your email. We'll talk time.
That's the problem.
That question just about the site visit. Were the select board members gonna be invited to that as well? It seems like there's multiple tracks, no pun intended.
Gonna be limited to 10. I'm not sure.
Well, it seemed like there's a couple of different avenues for multiple people to attend. So if your people are going down different tracks as far as this commission as well as the alternative, which I know you guys don't do, but there seem to be alternatives.
Have to set their own site visit. Okay.
This being set by four.
If a select board member reaches out and says they want to be part of this site visit, we'll do our best to get them
So
on there.
reach out to your select board members and say, commission is looking at this. It might make sense for you to know your reference.
Okay, thank you.
That might be okay.
Thank you. There is more than process than just this commission for this approval for the town, or is this the only approval?
This is the only environmental.
Are there other approvals that they have to go through in town?
I'm not sure what this is up.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
Some of the
ask
same
that.
dual tracks.
You're gonna have to reach out to town officials and ask that question. I don't,
As well.
we're only conservation, so I don't know.
Town collectively.
I think, so, we have a permits coordinator that might know the answer to that, and, certainly the, town manager or someone else would. From what I know.
I will, but might want a liaison as well for yourself, just, but thank you all.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Okay.
you for coming. Supporting what you're doing.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Good night.
Sorry, Chuck, I was just asking, do you want me to email you? I did take a summary of questions and just email you for times. I have the date. I'll just get back with our railroad ops and safety and then go from there. Just email's fine.
Email's fine. And if you guys want to look over this meeting, it's usually up on YouTube at RCTV pretty quickly. So you get the rest of the questions by reviewing that. But email me what you have. I'll add what I have, and we'll make sure that we have the list between us as complete as possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Good night.
Good night.
And then there was one.
Excuse me, can you do me a favor? Can you close that door?
Is there a, yeah,
You have to put the sign on it.
There's just a lot of chit chat out there.
Town official will,
The sign on it.
Okay. All right.
okay.
So now we're moving on to the next hearing, which is 8 Morgan Park. And while Chuck is settling himself, I will read the blurb. Open the public hearing on request for determination of applicability filed by Michael Axiak under Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Paragraph 40, and the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes installation of a new deck to replace the old deck. The landing and stairs are in a new location, and the footing will be 8 helical piles. All the work is within a 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at the Town Hall Conservation Office, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. And on the Conservation Division page, under project here, Assessor's Map 20, Lot 53, 2024-12. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm sorry, I can't get my video to work. I think the host needs to, my name is Chrysula Varadakis. I'm not sure. I mean, not a big deal, but I'm not hiding from you.
1 second, I'll be able to do multitask here. There you go. I see you now. Okay, you should be good.
Yeah, I don't know, it's not working. Let me see. Let me try this.
On to 3. Now try it.
Okay. Hi. Hi. All right. So my name is Chrysula Varadakis. I represent the design build firm that is going to be building the deck at 8 Morgan Park. I'm here with the homeowner. His name is Michael Axiak. And what we're doing is we're requesting a variance of the encroachment on the 35-foot buffer line. What exists now is a deck. There's already a deck there. The deck is taking up about 23 feet of the buffer at that 35-foot buffer. It's within that buffer. I can share my screen too to show you that.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So now you can see here, there is an existing deck, which I'm going to just put my cursor to the line where that is. This is following the existing deck. It comes out over here. It's about 23 square feet. We're adding about 18 new square feet that would be within that buffer zone. The construction of the deck will be solely on helical footings, so there'll be no excavation of any soils in that area. And what we plan to do as mitigation was to plant 5 native winterberry shrubs by the stream as well. That's pretty much the gist. And I was wondering if you had any questions or anything.
Sure, we'll see. Any questions from the commission? Martha?
It was hard for me to tell on the site visit where the fence was compared to the edge of stream. And you're talking about planting the 5 shrubs. Are those inside or outside the fence?
Wherever you'd like them to be. We weren't sure. We just knew we wanted to do some sort of mitigation. We would, I'm believing on the other side of the fence by the stream would be the best route.
So then can you tell me where the fence is compared to edge of stream on this map?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Side of the stream?
Oh, see, I don't have a photo of that. I just have the existing deck there. So let me try to show you on here. The fence is right about here. And Mike, you know better because you live there. I just feel like it's right behind the patio Right at the edge of your patio is where your fence is?
There's a few feet, but yeah, it's generally kind of like it kind of hugs the edge of streamline. It's kind of a foot or two off from that edge of streamline. It's
Okay, so that was, that matches our impression when we were out there. We looked through the gate in the fence and it looked like giant puddles either side of the gate. And
yeah,
that
so
would be the stream.
where that door is actually where so if you look at the map here, right, the stream kind of curves a little bit. So the fence itself is straight. So there's a little bit of space on the other side of the fence, like away from the door. The door is kind of where
Yeah, the fence is pretty much in line with the edge of the patio.
Yeah.
It runs horizontal across the property there.
Okay. Yeah, I think for my money, I'd rather see the shrubs planted inside the fence. But
we can do that too.
you
Yeah.
know, other people
Sure.
can give their 2 cents. And what's really important to me is outside the fence, it looks like a lot of the leaves that were raked out of the yard were dumped through that gate into the woods on the other side of the fence, which means there's a big pile of leaves damming up the street.
We have
And
people
isn't
take away the
acceptable.
leaves, but it's possible that, we didn't go clean it. I think what happens is the Tannerville town is like doing a lot of wind blowing or leaf blowing on that side, and they don't necessarily walk all the way down the stream because on the other side is Tannerville. But we can do a better job of cleaning up on the other side of the fence.
Yep.
Yeah, if you go look at it, when you open the gate, there's a clear mound of leaves in one spot, the stream, and it's clear on either sides, which is why Martha said our impression was that they came out the gate because it's in that one place of the stream. So you should
I'll
go ahead and find out because we will want that to be cleared up.
Sure. Yeah, I'll clear it up.
We did have some other questions from the site visit. I think I can go on to those questions.
Sure.
We noticed that there were downspouts at the backside of the house and what seems to be a sump pump outlet. Do you know where those empty, where the other end of those downspouts is?
I don't know for sure, but I believe they're emptying near the stream. At least one of the downspouts empties into the edge of the stream.
All right, and there's a cover in the backyard labeled poisonous gas cover. We were
Yeah,
curious about that.
We did
Yeah, I was
not,
curious when I bought the property. So that's it's just a cover for where the sump well exits. So they just bought kind of a container to house that sump exit. So it's not, it's not sewage or anything like that.
that would seem to be a strange design choice. To label it as poisonous gas.
Yes.
Back to you, Martha.
That was all I had at the moment.
Okay, any other questions? Tony?
I have a procedural question, and I hate these, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Do we typically issue variances under a request for determination of applicability, or does that require?
Good question.
Yes, we've broken that. I know what you're saying. It should be a notice of intent, but we have. We pretty much consistently operate. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, we might want to make that change the next time we get into our regulations. But variances usually go along with a notice of intent, and that's how it's written in our regulations. But consistently, every commission I've ever worked with here in Reading just looks at it as if it was the notice of intent. So
Okay.
they have to address it the same way.
Right, we're checking all the boxes. We're talking about alternatives. We're talking about mitigation. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
So we need to go draft Bill again for some work. Any other questions on that, Tony?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Chirag, Tim, Walter?
To ask my questions.
Do you have questions to ask?
I think he said I already asked.
That's what I wasn't sure. Okay.
The top of the staircase is closer to the stream and the bottom of the staircase is closer to the street. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And will the posts at the extreme back corner of the deck be going straight down, or will there be any cantilevering of that deck?
Because of building ratios, cantilever rules and ratios, we're only 7.5 feet there, so it's a wonderful for rule. There will be a slight cantilever. I'm going to show you, there will be a footing right here at the edge, but that will only cantilever about 6 inches in from the front. So there'll be one footing here, another helical footing here. And then on this edge, there'll be, you know, a max 1 foot cantilever or so for the footing of the deck area. What you see here with the diagonal, yep, I'm sorry,
Hold
what?
on. You've got a Architect of Suburban Boston plan that has a much bigger, yeah.
Oh,
that-
right here. There we
let's
go.
That one, then we can see.
Good
what-
idea. So we'll have a footing here. And then the next footing will be 8 feet away. It'll cantilever more on this end. So the footings will basically be in a line just like this. We're 26, 8, 16. There's going to be 3 footings in this line. And then there'll also be 2 footings here to support this landing area.
So you will be putting footings within the 35 foot, not
Yes.
just deck surface. Okay.
Correct. There will be 3 footings within that area, 3 helical footings.
I'm good.
I have a few questions. So you're tearing down the existing deck to put up a new deck?
Yeah, the existing deck was not properly built. It's more of a hazard, but
So how are
We-
you handling the removal of that material?
excuse me?
How are you handling the removal of that material? Are you going to leave it around for a while? You're going to throw it in the truck right
No,
away?
we remove it right away. Nobody wants trash in their yard, so we get that. So the same day that we are demolishing the deck, we'll have plastic Rubbermaid barrels that we keep on site. These barrels we can keep in the driveway as well. That first day of demo, we will put all of the materials in a pickup truck, and that will be hauled away to our dumpster in an off-site location. For during the period of the build, we will have Rubbermaid barrels that is where all the debris will be housed. And every day we have one of our helper assistants remove those barrels so that we can put the trash in the dumpster that we have.
Okay, and where do you plan on storing the material to build the new deck before you actually use it?
Good question. I mean, we're open to what you guys are comfortable with as well. I would say it'd be most likely on the edge of the driveway over here, outside of the buffer zone.
Yeah, okay,
We could stage materials right in this area where the grass and the driveway meet.
okay, that's all I had. Chuck, do you have any comments, questions?
I don't.
Okay, can I have a motion then to close this hearing?
Walter has a question.
Walter has a question.
Oh, sorry, I can see his hand. Walter, it's not that I hate you. Go ahead, Walter.
Yeah, hi. I had a question about the fence. Looking at it, it obviously is not perpendicular anymore. And it's also looks like it's pretty much chewed up at the bottom. I'm asking the question, does the stream overflow and come under the fence into your yard?
I've never seen,
Over here.
so I've seen definitely the water rise. I've never seen it go to the extent where it got into the fence, because the fence is about a couple inches off the ground. I've never seen, even during a flood or like a heavy downpour, I haven't seen the fence ever get submerged.
Does
But
the water come on this side of the fence?
I have seen it's hard to say because, there's a lot of water runoff, so it's hard to say like where the water is coming from. But during a heavy downpour, I will see kind of, a high amount of water in this entire area. So I don't know. It's not like the water is not rising up from the stream, right? It's usually kind of coming from all directions, and it's for a brief moment in time during a heavy downpour that I see like water kind of submerging the lawn near the stream. Does
Thank
that
you.
answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay. Now, can I have a motion to close this hearing?
I move to close the hearing on 8 Morgan Park.
It's Tony Rotalakis, I second that.
Walter Talbot's in favor with a condition.
Tony Rotalakis in favor.
Stilicho in favor.
Michelle in favor.
Martha Moore in favor?
Brian Bowe in favor. Okay, can I have a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability?
And do we list the conditions after we vote,
That's what I was going to do, yeah.
before we vote?
I don't know. Did we just vote? You voted to close.
Close.
Conditions.
Conditions. All right, conditions. What do we have for conditions?
Start with Walter. He had conditions.
Walter, any conditions?
Yeah, I may be overreacting. I don't like the idea that there's a mention of poisonous gas within the 35-foot range. So if that could be spray painted over legally, I'm okay with that. But something has to be done. That should not be a warning within the 35-foot range.
Okay. Easy to fix.
If you can legally spray paint over it without being inspected, that's fine. But that sign should not exist.
Yep.
Is that within our jurisdiction?
I know. But if you're willing to paint it, then you can paint, but yeah.
I think it's 3-dimensional.
Yeah, it's engraved.
Okay.
So you're not, even if you paint over
Oh,
it.
geez.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll look into getting a different covering or, yeah, it's not the right thing for what it is, so.
Another condition, we have cleanup outside the gate in the stream.
Yep.
And we have planting inside the fence rather than outside the fence.
Yeah, and specifying when you're cleaning up yard waste, you're going down to the point where it's pretty broken down. You're not necessarily digging the soil up.
If it's in the stream, though.
If it's in the stream, it should be obvious what's stream and what's not, but that's just a typical. When we say there's a pile of yard waste in your backyard, we're not asking you to go down to bare dirt.
I have a question.
Chuck?
Or, is that a condition with a time limit? Or is that just good advice?
To clean it out?
To get the material, the leaves and whatnot. I mean, obviously the condition is don't do it anymore. But are they supposed to have this clean by the time this is done and I review the project?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to see it.
By the time.
Okay.
I would like to see it cleaned up this spring.
And also, as long as we're doing whimsical thinking, I'd like to know whether, once it's cleaned out, whether you get water under the fence or not. I wonder if that will improve your flow. But as I said, that's whimsical. Okay, any other conditions?
So what are the conditions we have? Planting, my question is the painting, the alteration of the sign a condition?
That's not a condition.
No.
It's a request. I have shrubs on the inside of the fence, leaves out of the stream before I sign off on the project is complete.
I'd like a
So that-
survivability limit on the shrubs. I want 3-year survivability of 80% of the shrubs or 100% of the shrubs. We're only planting 5 shrubs. Any opinions?
Well, 80 would be 4 of them. It's hard to have 4.5, so.
Right. That's why I said 80 or 100.
80 is probably,
Does anybody care whether it's 80 or 100?
no, 80% is fine.
Okay, so 80% 3-year survivability on the shrubs.
So I have shrubs inside the fence. I have leaves out of the stream before I sign off on the occupancy permit. I have,
Material staging in the driveway
yeah,
and
I'm just a little bit slow.
removal of
Yeah.
the.
Stockpile in the driveway, yeah, and everything goes out the same day and the 3 years survivability. That's all I have. So if there's anything else.
I think that's it. Okay, now can I have a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability?
I move to issue a negative determination of applicability with the conditions discussed for 8 Morgan Park, Reading, Massachusetts.
Xerox Tilakar, second that.
Walter Talbot's in favor.
Tony Rodalakis in favor.
Xerox Tilakar in favor.
Michelle in favor.
Martha Moore in favor.
Brian Bow in favor. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. So that is it for the hearings. Now we move to new business. I don't think there's anything there to discuss. We can go to discussion items. The first one is the certificate of compliance for 31 Baker Road. Is anybody here for that?
Right there.
I know, I was looking at him, I wanted him to raise his hand and he did. Okay, so we did a site visit on Monday in the nice balmy weather. Martha, do you want to walk us through our site visit?
Sure, I was hoping I could find a thermostat to turn the heat down a little bit in here. We froze the other day and now we're cooking.
That's why I said balmy.
I don't know, maybe
I
there.
think it's that one that's,
Yeah. The
Open the window.
town manager went over and said, is the heat on? Let's turn the heat on.
I'm not feeling it.
Okay, all right, Martha, let's.
Okay,
get to this.
sorry.
It's all right.
Is that related to the WPA, by the way?
Yeah, point of order.
Point of order, yeah.
Hey,
Don't
you
make
could
me
have called on somebody else. I wasn't the only one on the site visit. We had the general impression that this was not ready for a certificate of conditions of compliance. There was still deck planking behind the building that had not yet been used to build the deck that's in the original plan. There was remains of a campfire right next to the building, which was kind of scary given the drought conditions this summer. There were no gutters on the building yet and only downspout pipes in the ground in the front, nothing in the back that would show where the runoff from the roof would go. I don't see anything on the plan where we asked for Cultec chambers or anything like that. So maybe because it was no change in the technical roof line of the building, maybe that's why we don't have stormwater management, but one would think there should be gutters. And the roof line on this building is much fancier than the roof line on the ranch that it replaced. So, where's all that water going? There was loam and seed inside the 25-foot line, which we thought was originally zone of natural vegetation. Sort of on the back south corner of the house. There was yard waste, including rhododendron branches inside the wetland line. And that's, oh. Tree in the front had a lot of branches that had been cut off, so were those done recently, and is that tree not very healthy at this point? The one right next to the front walkway. That's my list.
Okay, I have a few to add. It appears from visual inspection that the driveway is going to get another layer. That's just based on the fact that it's still the way it was before, and there's a gravel area near the top of the driveway between it and the garage, so that's an assumption. There's a mat covered by mulch to the left of the driveway that was loose, so I'm not sure what the plan is for that. Let's see, oh, and there were two boundary markers on the left, which on the plan are marked as conservation boundary markers. So I guess it's a curiosity question. Are there more that we just didn't find? I will admit it was very cold and we were not hanging around looking extensively, so maybe you would know if there are more than those two. And that was all I had, so maybe you can address some of that.
You're talking about
Yeah.
I guess. So, yes,
Yes.
I only see two of them and they're not on my property.
Yeah, and that's what we were
They
wondering.
should be, so yeah, I only see only two of them.
Okay,
I don't know if it's supposed to be more and,
I don't either, that's why I asked.
okay, no, I didn't find any more.
Okay, so that's not your issue then.
So for water management, like I have contracted, he already did assessment, so depends on this weather, he's pushing me out, but I hope in 2-3 weeks it will be done. But I don't have concrete time yet for that.
And what is he planning to do?
He planning just put in the front and the back and do whatever was on old house, just to put gutters and put them.
So he will be putting in gutters.
Yeah, definitely, yes. And those was from original house in front, and in the back they never had any additional, it just was gone to the ground.
So it just fell along the roof line?
Yes.
And remind us what your name is.
Andrei Belos, 31 Baker Road. And tree in the front was original tree. And yeah, it was previously done. We also had arborists who did some, but we didn't cut any new branches.
So the reason that caught my eye at least is because back when you first started the work, I was out there with Chuck and there was a big excavation around the bottom of it. And we had some concerns about some damage to the roots. And so the question that popped into my head was, were those branches cut since the excavation? Were they as a result of damage to the roots?
No, so arborist did 2-time treatment already. He put some special, whatever he need to do it. We didn't cut any branches, so whatever was cut before this, what you see, this old, whatever was left.
But this past summer, there was a healthy leaf canopy.
Yeah, yes, it was healthy, but to me, trees doesn't look healthy because it has in the middle has old, whatever they cut before, and it's rotten inside of the tree trunk. So, but this summer it was green.
Well, let's go down some of these one by one. What about the yard waste, rhododendron branches, what have you, that's to the left of the house in the resource area there?
I just put this to protect a little bit, but it's easement that I cannot do anything there.
Okay, so those are going to have to come out.
You mean on the whatever on the ground?
No, so if you look to the left of the built-up part of your yard, out in the wetland, there's some rhododendron cuttings and
debris and.
yeah, the debris and what have you, that's kind of in the area there. So
You're talking about the staircases, yeah?
Sort of near
To the left,
8A and
driveway.
7A.
yeah,
Here?
No, further back.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's where the walkway is.
It was a lot of debris that we took it out, but maybe something's still left, but.
Well, when we were looking to Monday, there were pieces of branches that had green leaves on them that are rhododendron branches
Okay.
that weren't there last summer. So I don't know when they got put there. Well, they're
No, I mean, I don't have those.
true. And yeah,
Okay, I don't.
those pieces of branches may well be on the neighboring property from you, because I'm looking at the wetland line and the property boundary, and you're right. They might actually be off your property, but it's funny to have them there in the wetland. So it could be your neighbor who was dumping near your property boundary.
Okay, so let's get to
Okay,
the,
so I go to clean it.
let's go back to the gutter issue for a moment. So you're gonna have somebody put them in.
Mhm.
Once you do that, you're gonna have to fix the erosion that has happened to the front right of the house where that corner sticks out. It's dripped off and that area has all been eroded. Likewise, going down that right-hand side of the property. There's a little channel, don't think big channel, but there's an erosion track running down that hill that should be addressed as well. And that's going right towards the wetland. I don't know if it's going to get that far, but either way, we want to see that addressed. What about the driveway? In fact, you're going to be doing another,
Yeah, just take it old and put it new.
when do you think that's going to happen?
Spring.
Okay. And what about the matting to the left of the driveway with the mulch on it?
I can extend it or because it was just,
But what's the plan? What was approved?
this is easement. I cannot. It's my easement.
It's right next to the driveway.
Yeah, I just put it because I want to protect it that it will not blow and like will no erosion, but I can make it bigger, smaller and put mulch. I put mulch before, but it wind just blew away, so I don't know how to.
Okay, I mean, we can't add anything to original order of conditions, but maybe some lawn there.
And originally, I would like to that I have this green like grass going from by the stairs. If they will grow up, I will be happy.
Okay, and in the back left, the loam that was spread too far in the back left and it goes inside the 25-foot. Yeah, it was spread and seeded.
Okay.
And we can see there's an edge of the loaming and that's too far in. So that we would want to be returned to the natural state, which would mean taking the loam out, I would imagine, and then doing some plantings. Right, so to return it to at least what's around it.
Okay, I can put more plants.
Well, I don't know. I mean, are you adding something to the order of conditions?
Well,
Correcting something that was
right,
damaged.
so I don't think it's adding something. I think it's the first of all, the spreading in the loam was a change. Because there was a patio there and the change was to remove the patio and spread loam and seed. And in the course of doing that, it was spread too far to the left beyond a 25-foot. So I agree with Martha, it's correcting a step that was done improperly.
I would think you would, I mean, if they just pull the topsoil back out of the 25-foot and then seed it, you're asking for shrubs.
No.
That's where I was like, well,
I said planting, which to me is anything, but something to restore it more towards what it was. And I understand restore is a loaded word.
yeah.
But do something to counter the fact that loam and seed was put down incorrectly. Because raking it back and leaving it there, I don't know what that achieves.
What's on, yeah, so just match what's on either side, is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of it frankly is just moss and things like that. So it's not like it's any spectacular growth, but that's what the natural layer is.
So if I will just not cut grass there, if it will return back, or you want to do something, or just do not cut too far?
I would like you to actively do something, because if it's just left, you don't know what's gonna grow with it, right? It could be invasives, might be something good, might be something bad. So if you do something on purpose, I think that would be better.
So can I put more shrubs there? It will be,
You can put more shrubs if you wanted. That's probably doing more than you have to. You know, but as Chuck said, if you could make it match the ground cover that's there now, that would be at least the target of what we're looking for. Shrubs is extra if you wanted to do it. Hallelujah, but that's nothing we can tell you.
I would, yeah. You're gonna get to a point where you want this completed, so maybe you wanna look at whatever the fastest thing you can do is, and that might be shrubs. Okay?
Okay.
And they don't have to be big, just something.
Right.
okay.
Okay,
And do you know what the story is with that little campfire circle next to the back of the house?
Yeah, my children use it a little bit
Okay,
months, 2 months ago.
probably not a good idea.
It was after they took this fire. Then they allowed to make fire actually.
Yeah, but generally, if you're having a campfire, you want to prepare the ground so that there's no risk of fire and burning either the wetland or your house. And we had a big drought this summer. So,
No, it was done after that, so.
okay, so,
well, we're still in drought conditions, believe it or not.
but that's not a wetland
Right.
jurisdiction, so.
Well, it's right inside
just
the
have to be
35-foot, 25-foot zone.
And whatever
So,
you do, don't have your kids leave little bits of marshmallows. It's a bad thing.
Okay,
So you have some things to do.
okay,
So process is what? You would come back when you think you're done?
okay, yep.
Hold of Chuck and.
And I can, maybe I can bring some photo to Chuck that he will look before and.
We'll have to do the site visit
Yeah,
again.
but before site visit, I don't want to waste.
Yeah.
time again, I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Right,
thanks for
thank
your
you.
patience through this long meeting.
Okay, so we don't need a vote or anything on that. We're just going to take it up again. Which brings us to 445 Pearl Street. Update by Martha, I believe it says here.
Oh, lovely. Okay, Brian and I went out and met with Mike Rivers and his father, Jack Rivers. And Mike explained that he was unable to follow the plan that had been approved in the summer of 2021. And that's why he built this absolutely vertical wall down to the bottom of the stream and to the level of the driveway and filled behind it with soil and rocks. And he says he's always parked his boat there, and so he wanted to have enough room to park his boat. And he just kept insisting that he was able to do this wall. And Brian and I finally looked at each other and said, we are not able to give you permission to leave the wall the way it is. That would be something the entire Conservation Commission would have to vote on. It's not something Brian and I could do. And so Jack Rivers suggested that he come back to a meeting, the next meeting or two from now, with a plan of how they would
A proposed modification.
modify the approved plan from August of 2021, and see whether the commission would approve the modification that he's thinking would give him some retaining wall at the top and restore the stream bed at the bottom. And we said he could talk to Chuck about that.
So to add a little more flavor to it, we did reiterate a number of times that there was an approved plan. This was not the approved plan. He, Mike, said a number of times that he thought the goal was to make it the way it was before. And, as vague as that was, we said, but the plan was this. So it's hard to say what he really meant by the way it was before. He said that he parked his boat there for whatever number of years. I remember even the time that I went there, by the time I went, there'd already been an approval and enforcement order and everything else. There already was a slope on both sides of the stream. I don't know if he had his boat there or not, doesn't matter. The point is, the plan was such, that was approved. That's not what he did. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, no, but, again, it was a cold day and we were standing there in the cold, not making any progress whatsoever, which is why I said,
So-
if you think that you can get the rest of the commission to approve a modification of the plan, you need to bring that plan to the commission.
And a modification after the fact,
Right,
because the work's done.
yeah.
And by the way, the work isn't perfect. There's already gravel leaking out in a number of the seams here and there. So, yeah, I mean, clearly, I think I'm making it clear I have some issues with it, but is there a problem with them bringing back a proposed plan change?
So this is an enforcement order. And it's usually, they can propose something, a plan change. This was, I was shocked when I saw this. This was outrageous that it happened. But it's, it's always up to the commission what they think. He's taken the bank away from one side of the stream.
And damage the others.
And then, put in this retaining wall. And it's, it won't last too long. It will not have to, be repaired. I think it's only cedar boards.
Okay, so.
Hold on.
Oh, you breathed. That's just your problem.
Yeah. This is an enforcement order. We approved a plan. The plan should have been followed. The question is, the Conservation Commission needs to know, it needs to decide what they want to do. You certainly have the right to say, I don't even want to hear from you. Follow the plan. You got to do it by this date and we're going to move forward. Or you can, I don't see a problem with listening to whatever the changes that they're going to come up with. I don't see that they can do it. What I saw, this was craziness going on out there.
Yeah. I agree, and I must have said nicer words than that any number of times. Kept on coming back to, that's not the approved plan. You said you could do the work per the plan. You didn't. And this has been going on for years. So.
And who developed that original plan that got approved?
It was
for Ackerman
Yeah.
from I forget which environmental company.
Memory. Wow.
Yeah, but I can't remember the name, but it was a environmental group.
Yeah.
He hired an environmental consultant.
Spragus, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Williams and Sprague.
Williams and Sprague.
Told you.
Yep.
You gotta give
So
me-
he hired Williams and Sprague to develop the
They
plan.
designed the plan.
They designed the plan, they presented it, and it was approved on August 14th, 2021. And then it sat there for 3 years and he didn't even make any attempt to complete the plan until we started really getting on his case.
So the plan was designed, it was stamped by engineers.
Yeah,
It's a legit plan.
it's a legit
It wasn't
plan.
drawn up on a napkin. It was, okay.
No, no. And I had the copy with me and I kept showing them the two slopes of the bank. One is 1.5 to 1 slope, one is 2 to 1 slope. and we look at theirs and it's vertical.
And the revision, the constructed condition was not done under an engineering design or an engineered plan, whether it was approved by the
Done
company.
by the homeowner.
Okay.
Who has some experience in home building.
Right. And so if you drive by, you can see in the driveway, the car logs that are supposed to be at the bottom of this stream bed piled up in the driveway. You can see the pile of river stones, 2 to 4 inch river stones that looked more like 4 to 6 inch river stones to me, piled up in the driveway. And yet what got installed was landscape timbers.
Well, and one last thing, which I did say, is that there is a problem with time in this case. Right now, we've been in a drought. There wasn't a lot of water rushing through there, but I've been there times when that embankment is very full. I mean, not to the top, but a lot more water going through, and that's going to erode. That was one of the problems in the first place because they had put stones, boulders down, which altered the flow and it was undermining the northern bank. So my fear is that that's going to happen again before this gets done. But I think we should wait for the plan, show an open mind, and take it on face value.
And once we see the plan and you all get to see the plan, we should probably have a site visit before the plan, so you guys all really see what we're talking about. Then the question is, do we accept their revised plan or do we insist they go back to Plan A from 2021? And Chirag, you look like you found it on Google Maps.
Yeah, I was just trying to, I see it every day on my way, but like.
Okay.
Just wanted to see what it was
So
before.
that's the update. They said they would have the plan to us before the next meeting.
Or possibly before the February meeting.
Yeah, but I don't think we should let it go any longer than that. If we don't have a plan, it's time to go back and say, you missed your window, back to the approved plan and give them a date for it to be completed. I don't know what that would be.
This spring.
Yeah,
I think it really has to be done this spring. We've been waiting too long.
okay. Is that,
Conditions are ideal. Dry and winter are ideal times to do this work.
so there enough on that topic? Anything else you want to add to?
No.
Well, anything else you should add? All right, conservation DPW meeting, monthly meeting. So we had the meeting a couple of days ago. Chuck and Mike Kessman had put together an agenda. It was pretty useful. It led us through topics. Mike was pretty forthcoming in projects that they had coming up. Some of them even talking 2026. Although that obviously was fairly vague. We talked about a number of discussion topics from our perspective. One of the major ones being somehow dealing with the creating of a path around the outside of Bear Meadow made from wood chips taken from the trees, taken down in the thin. So we left it that we would count on Mayor Tree to do it since Dan Mayer had said that he would do it. And then if in fact doesn't get done, if they leave piles, then we'd come back to DPW to seek help in spreading that out into a path. What else should you talk about?
No, it was a productive DPW meeting. I have to give an update on Bear Meadow later, so
Okay.
I'll not do that.
Okay, well, that brings us to administrative report, which sounds like it may be about Bear Meadow.
Yeah, so we had a lot of help getting Dan Mayer to remember that he was going to create a path. And I still think that I'm a little worried about how they're going to create a path, but They will. They said they're gonna do a path. They're hoping to use the chipper to do most of it. And they're gonna clean it up, tighten it up to a 5-foot width with their skid steer. That may not be the right way to do it. So anyways, we're gonna meet out there and see how this looks after a little bit's happened. Although the way these guys work. Yeah, I
They
mean.
move pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're gonna be done. So I'm gonna let you know that they're pretty much done, the town forest. They're gonna be moving to Bear Meadow tomorrow. There's a guy that's gonna start mowing in the mowing areas, gonna have all that material cut down. And work through it that way, and then on Monday, the fellow buncher and all the rest of the material is gonna mobilize, they're gonna show up and they're gonna start cutting down the trees. The way they work, this might be just a couple of days.
Yeah, they're quick.
Can you explain about the mowing area and the mower? I thought we were mowing in spring only now and not fall, or is that in different kind of?
Yeah, so there's some greenbrier out there and there's it's probably Japanese knotweed. No, it's not. It's Oriental bittersweet. And that's throughout one of the areas. So that's going to be mowed down. And part of their process is to mow these areas down so they can get in there with their equipment and their manpower. So we took advantage of that and we had a bunch of it hit. Where, you know, this material's come in. It's most likely just going to come back. I mean, we don't have one portion of the town forest plan, which is we don't have a invasive control portion to this project. We just have cutting and planting.
Okay, so what they're mowing is invasive thicket, basically, not.
They're mowing all around the building. They're mowing all the building. They're mowing all around wherever they have to.
Yeah.
Work.
Not the field, not the grassy
We
area.
pointed out the field and said, this is something that we're going to protect. There's certain sections of the field that will be in the work zone. And that will get either mowed or at least driven over, but not the center sections.
So a lot of the part they're cutting is if you go in the Pearl Street entrance,
Mhm.
kind of ahead of you and to the right, where it kind of bows down to the tree line. For example, in there.
It turns out that the mower does a lot more of this work than we thought. So they're gonna be taking all the scrub pine down with the mower and all the small saplings, you know, hardwood saplings, and that's consistent throughout the perimeter of the project. They'll even go up the new trail that we put there with and do both sides. I think it just really pulverizes things also. So certainly go out there tomorrow and take a look at where they got, but they're gonna get all 4 sides. And probably some of the stuff that we want to grow back too, because it's intertwined with what needs to come out and the access points.
So you're going out there tomorrow?
I'm going out there tomorrow. I've the DPW, so we made sure that all the town officials know, the police department knows is starting tomorrow. Contact information is either myself or Kessman. We have a signboard up letting people know that it'll be closed until end of next week. Hopefully it's only next Wednesday.
Is this that electronic one that they program the dots on?
Yeah, it's already there. And we have, I'm gonna call them sawhorses at the entrance paths into the meadow and 4 locations. It's all the locations that get into the meadow. But just something there so people understand if they come through a different section of the forest to get into the meadow. We've done all that. It is starting and, you know, here we go.
What time do you think you'll be showing up tomorrow?
Me?
Yeah.
So
clearly I'm offering to tag along in case I hadn't come through.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I can't between 10:40 and 12. Other than that,
And that was exactly when I was going.
Yeah, I figured. That's why I made that note. That's why I can be that note.
We can go after 12,
Okay.
but I think you're gonna miss a lot. I'll go a second time after 12.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, I trust you. There's a good chance you might get it right.
Let's meet there. Let's meet at Matera at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, sure.
But I'm going to be there earlier because these guys are quick. I mean,
Well, I know.
the town forest
They just blown through that.
yeah, they did. They had the equipment.
But that also includes all the handwork they did too. I mean, that's
A
pretty.
lot of that's done. We were out there this morning checking it out. Have you been out there? Yeah,
I was very careful because the sign's up and everything. And I didn't wear a vest,
And you're here to tell the tale.
as far as I know.
No trees fell on you.
No trees, well, okay, so is that it for that?
yeah, I don't have anything else about that other than to say we've tried to cover all our bases with Media Blast, all that information to get it out to the public so they know, so the police department knows, so the town officials know.
Don't just say media blast, right? Everybody's safe. What does that entail?
Mostly it entails just going up on the town's Facebook page. But sometimes they send it out to everyone whose email they have. And so Media Blast is really these signboards that you see here, the Facebook page, anything that they have electronic, anyone's electronic information, and then something in the newspaper. That's what the Media Blast use. But I ask for Media Blast there all the time, and then they decide where it needs to go. And so it's
Hasn't gone to the level of a reverse 911, which calls everybody in town.
No,
Okay,
and I know that because I
we
didn't.
didn't, yeah.
I didn't get a call.
No, we
And
didn't.
I didn't get an email either, and I know I'm on the town manager minute email list.
Brian, are you going to, when you meet me at 1, don't get the coffee early because it's not warm when you get there. You gotta get it on the way. Just letting you know.
12:55.
Or keep it warm.
But it can be really diluted. I can use grounds that have been used 10 times, right?
Yeah, just making sure you.
Well, don't hold your breath on that. Okay, can we move on?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, minutes for approval. 10:23. By now, sure everybody has read them. Was going to, comments been sent, that are going to be sent. Any last minute additions, changes?
Walter? He's still awake.
Nope, he's good. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from 10:23:24?
I move to approve the minutes of October 23rd, 2024.
I second it. Chirag Talekar, second that.
Mr. Talbot's in favor?
Tony Rodalakis in favor.
Chirag Talekar in favor.
I wasn't here then.
Martha Moore in favor,
Brian Bow in favor.
so 5 in favor, 1 abstain.
Okay, next one is November 13th, 24. By the way, you don't have to have been there as long as you've reviewed it. But that's fine. Okay, November 13th, same thing. Everybody's read it, submitted comments. Who's going to submit comments?
I haven't read that.
Okay, what?
I haven't read that one.
1, 2, 3, 4. We still have a quorum. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from November 13th?
I move to approve the minutes from November 13th, 2024.
I second it.
Mr. Talbot's in favor?
Tony Rodalakis in favor.
Chirag Talekar in favor.
Michelle in favor.
Martha Moore in favor,
Brian Bow in favor. Okay, last one is December 11th, 24.
Those I haven't read.
I haven't seen them yet.
I haven't seen them.
I knew I hadn't seen them, but then I saw this, so I figured I'd read it off.
Yeah.
I was going to say I haven't read them, but.
And
So
who's
who's,
doing those?
that's a fine question.
I was in here. Don't look at me.
I don't know who
That was a long one.
Was it 11?
We got it all up.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, because it was the December meeting, so there was.
Martha say she was doing it?
No, I think Tim volunteered to be
Martha.
my fire.
Martha said she didn't have enough time. She didn't have enough things to do.
Yeah.
I volunteered to do today, Chuck.
Oh, wow. Sorry, I thought.
I'll do December 11th. It's just gonna take a while, so don't count on it being in the mailbox anytime soon. Okay, anything else to discuss before we move on? Don't forget, Sunday at noontime at Matera is the Land Use Summit.
Is it noon or 1?
Good question,
One
sorry,
before.
one. Glad you asked.
Is there an
Wonderful.
agenda?
Yes. Did you send it out, the agenda?
There is an agenda and I sent it, so it should be,
It was posted.
it should be on the, I'll send it out, but it was part of the media blast.
Yeah, It did get posted.
I didn't get a media blast.
Well, you need to,
I gotta make sure you're on it. I do have an agenda and we're gonna have Melissa Murphy and Andrew McNichol, who was here tonight. He had nothing, didn't say anything, so.
Yes.
And everyone's topic is on it. I will send it out, okay? So, but it's not in order of speaking. Because Melissa said she's gotta go somewhere. She's got another appointment, so she's gonna come in. We're gonna try to get her to speak right away. Andrew, he wants us to hear a little bit, but he also wants to get going. And then, I don't know, there's really no rhyme or reason to the rest of it. It's just who wants to go next.
the groups that would be represented are us, Trails, Town Forest Committee, Climate Advisory, and Open Land Trust.
And I didn't get anything from Climate Advisory, what they're gonna talk about.
Yeah, you did.
Did I?
Well, I did. From Genna, has all the.
Well, can you send it to me?
Slope and everything.
Did the description, did he say,
I sent the actual presentation.
yeah, let's talk about that. What are you, what are you asking me for when those emails? Because it looked like you said,
Projector.
yeah, you
I
said,
mean, I have a laptop, which I plan to hook up to a projector and to project it onto the wall. I don't have a projector in my tremendous array of equipment in my house.
yeah. I mean, it was just
But I
really,
can't remember, so when we've been there before for other
no,
presentations.
we got the projector, right? So I understand. You said the link you gave me did not,
Oh, that was for the email. When I sent the email to Bob using that link, it bounced back. It said, no such number. I mean.
oh, so you mean the,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm like,
So as long
what?
as there is a projector, I have reached out to Bob. He's gonna bring his presentation on a stick and we can use this to.
All right, so let me just,
That's what
this
surprised
is USB, the other one's. What's that one?
HDMI.
HDMI. You need an HDMI capability to use this projector that I have.
Huh,
Does your thing have HDMI on it?
it's a fine question.
Looks like it does.
Doesn't that say?
Looks-
Yeah, I would guess that's it, but we'll double check.
The only other way to do it is for me to bring this laptop, so, which is fine, but if you have it, then we're good to
Why
go.
don't you at least keep it in your car in case we have to go to Plan Z?
They want, they would also like you to come by and check it out, to make sure it works.
That makes sense.
You want to stop by tomorrow,
And
maybe after you walk or before you walk, tell, the Bear Meadow, we can make sure it works.
You don't want to get to Matera Cabin and not have the right cable to go from.
They gave us a cable, they gave us an extension cord.
Okay.
They want it set up on a table and not to be touched once it's set up. I guess it's like one of the best ones they have.
So he sent it to you on Thursday, January 2nd.
Did you find it? Can you just forward it to me again?
Yeah, I'm trying to break it out from all the other stuff in here. It's on tree preservation.
And I'm just gonna say there is a weather forecast for a little bit of snow on Saturday night.
I'm staying home.
You know, if you can drive in the parking lot, we're having the meeting. If it turns out that a little bit of the snow is a foot deep, I think we will have to cancel because they won't have plowed Matera parking lot
That's not gonna happen.
first. It gets plowed after all the rest.
What I heard tonight was an inch or an inch and a half.
Exactly.
Finished by 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Okay. So we're
Now-
not
now it jinxed us,
expecting.
I get that.
We're not expecting to have to cancel due to snow, but don't drive to Matera Cabin thinking that the parking lot gets plowed first.
Do we have,
Check your email, see if you got it.
so I'll add that to the agenda and send it out tomorrow. I mean, I could send you it now, but I didn't add this to it.
Okay. So there will be refreshments. I think Martha is making some brownies. I'm not sure.
I
which one
didn't
to
say
get.
so. I'm bringing cider and paper goods.
That's almost brownies. Okay, anything else before we adjourn?
For the menu?
No, anything else before we go home?
Oh,
Fine, 9:58. 9:58.
I move that we adjourn at, looks like 10 o'clock to
9:58.
9:59. I move we adjourn at 9:59. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
all right,
Thank you.
adjourned.
Good night.